10 o'clock on a Thursday. Welcome in. It is three-man front, three-person front, if you want to be politically correct. Lance Roberts, Conrad Van Order, otherwise known as Captain Caveman, and Molly Robinson. Pat Smith back with us on Monday. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Do you like Captain Caveman?
I was like, yeah, that's
I like
a new,
that name.
I've not heard that one before. That's a new nickname.
Have you ever seen reruns of Captain Caveman? Oh, yeah, that was a show.
Oh,
that
I
was
didn't
a
know that
cartoon back
either.
in the day.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to know.
Said that.
I'm impressed that you've actually seen the Flintstones.
I have, and the Jetsons.
So it spans. Good. Molly, how are you today?
I'm good. How are y'all?
We're doing great. We're doing good.
You don't have a fun. We got 4 hours to maybe one.
Yeah, we can come up with a
give me
nickname.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Give me a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sometimes I just call her just intentionally by the wrong name because I asked you earlier.
Millie,
Where's
Melanie.
Where's Melanie?
Yeah.
It's like when we call you Landon.
Melody.
Yeah, Landon. It could be worse.
Yeah.
Hope everyone's doing well. We're going to talk to Rodney Orr at the top of the hour, Tighter Insider. We'll talk to Rob Pate, Coach Skip Holtz. Stallions getting ready for a big conference championship game coming up from Protective Stadium. We're going to be in attendance for on Sunday. Hopefully the weather forecast and whatever that percentage says with the lightning bolts coming out of the cloud, that is not accurate because we have absolutely been pooed on when it comes to most of our games that we've had at Protective Stadium this year, weather-wise.
No, I mean, it's been, we can just call it what it is. It's been a string of bad luck.
It has.
It has been. And when we pile on, and we don't have to go down this rabbit hole again because we've talked about it a lot, but then you factor in when it wasn't raining, it was, Mother's Day or Memorial Day or things like that. So it would be nice if we could finally get a weekend where people have already maybe gotten that first beach trip out of the way last weekend or a couple weekends ago, have some good weather on Sunday and get out there and support the Stallions as they go for the four-peat.
Yeah. And you feel like I saw where Matt Corral, he's going to be available.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that Jamar Smith can continue to get all the reps, but you've now got 4 quarterbacks available. Alex Magoo is not available, but right now roll with Jamar.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would say barring, and fingers crossed because that's the way it's gone this year, but barring an injury to him, I would think that would be the guy the next couple of weeks because you've had a better offense and seemingly the offense has gotten better every week that he's been at the helm. And he didn't even have to play the second half last week because of how in hand that game was against Memphis. But things are looking good right now. And it's funny to go from the beginning of the season where it felt like, you were having to go to your 5th string quarterback at one point in time and you didn't know who was going to be available. And now you kind of have an embarrassment of riches from a depth perspective at that point. So that's certainly good heading into the playoffs.
College football playoff, the future, what that schedule looks like, that continues to be bantered about, and we've discussed it, but really nothing new to report. You've got just different people coming out. I know what the Big Ten, and you have the Big Ten contingents and member institution representatives, including one Ryan Day, saying that 4 automatic qualifiers, that's what he wants.
No, he said that's what they deserve.
They deserve.
That is what they deserve.
You're right. He did say deserve.
That's a very important word when we talk about okay, so you deserve the 4 conference.
We have been anointed.
Qualifiers.
We have been anointed as the Big Ten conference to get 4 automatic qualifiers. And I'm all good with it. I was good with a 4-4-2-2-1-3, but now I'm kind of on board the 5-11.
I think we all agree the 4-4-3-3 one is not going to happen, and that one is a bad idea. But I'm with you. I like the 5-11 idea, but if we end up with the 4-4-2-2-1 and then the 3 at-large bids, I'm not going to be upset either way.
Molly, you got an opinion?
I mean, I'm still going to watch it no matter what they pick, but between the two, I prefer the 5-11.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
And coming out of the Big 12, you hear Texas Tech's coach Joey McGuire. Let's do what's best for college football. We keep hearing, let's do what's best for college football. What's best for college football? Does college football know what's best for college football?
No, it doesn't, but that's the easy route for them to take, right? The easy angle for them knowing.
Very political
Ultimately,
answer.
Exactly. Ultimately, the SEC and Big Ten are going to be the ones deciding how this all plays out. So we're just going to sit over here and say, hey, let's just do what's best for the game of college football. And then if they don't like the decisions that the SEC and Big Ten gave, hey, we were the ones out here. We were saying, let's do what's best for college football. Don't point the finger at us. It's them. They're the ones that are looking out for themselves, even though we all know at the end of the day, they're all looking out for themselves. But that's what they get paid to do, right?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Whether you're a coach or an AD. Yeah.
Twitter poll question of the day. We do that every day at the number 3-man front. And this one does pertain to the college football playoff, but it also pertains to the SEC, Molly. And our Twitter poll question of the day is:
which of these SEC teams will win another college football national championship first? We give you 4 options: Georgia, Alabama, Texas, and Auburn. I don't know who wrote this question, but it wasn't me.
No, it's a really good question.
Because
you're including a lot of our listeners there.
Thank you.
And I think that was very political of you, Conrad.
Well, people were, somebody responded immediately and said, oh, yeah, let's put Auburn in there, but not Tennessee, who made the playoff last year. First off, do you think Tennessee's competing for national championship this year? I'm not saying Auburn is either, but if we're going to go that route. But it's more of a who is going to win it next. I'm not saying I think these are the 4 teams that are in the best position necessarily to win one this year. It's just, projecting out over the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years. Who do you think is going to get back to the top of the mountain? Because we've seen Georgia most recently, right? Texas knocked on the door last year. Alabama, now 4 or 5 years removed from a title. And then Auburn, obviously a little bit different story for them. But it's just a good debate.
If Nico was still the quarterback at Tennessee, would you think that they would be, and by contending, we don't make, I guess technically you would say making college football playoff, but you believe Tennessee makes the college football playoff final game if Nico's quarterback? I'll be the first one to say no.
No. I don't think so either, but I certainly think, for this season, talking about them being in the playoff conversation, yeah, I certainly think if Nico's still there, that's an active conversation, and now it's not.
If you want to go recency, you would say Georgia percentage-wise because they were the last team to do it out of the Southeastern Conference. Next, I would go Alabama. Next, I would go Texas, and then Auburn at the end.
See, and I think that's why it's an interesting question because I think for this year, a lot of people would probably be on the Texas train of, well, everyone's kind of projecting them to be the best team, so maybe they're going to win a title this year.
Best quarterback.
And they
in the eyes of most.
Correct. And they very well may. Maybe Texas will win the championship this year. Maybe Georgia will. Maybe Auburn or Alabama will. But that's why I think it's interesting because once you get past this year with Texas and what we kind of know with Arch Manning, do you start to lose faith in them a little bit if they're not able to get it done? It's great if you can go to the playoff 3 years in a row, but if you don't have a national title to show for it, when does that confidence that Texas can take that next step start to come into question? I think a lot of people are very excited about Georgia. Defensively, going to be very good, but what do you get with Stockton? I think similar for Alabama. Expect the defense to be good. Got a lot of weapons, but what are you going to get from Ty Simpson? And then Auburn's kind of the dark horse in it all. So just kind of an interesting conversation. I'm not surprised that Alabama's in the lead right now as far as the voting goes.
RTR listeners.
Yeah, we know how that kind of goes, but I am a little surprised that Georgia only has a little bit more than Auburn in terms of votes for who will win the next national championship out of the SEC.
I'm going to take a quick exit off of this because I am seeing a lot of projections for power rankings of SEC quarterbacks, and I'm seeing a lot of these lists, Conrad, that are leaving Ty Simpson off of their top 10.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Love being the underdog.
Betrayed. I'll speak for him. Betrayed. Hurt.
Yeah. See, and I think
let me just say this. For Ty Simpson's sake, it's a rarity in what he's done. And not that automatically boosts you to the front of the line of being deserving. But for me, at least, I hope Ty Simpson goes out and just absolutely slays it, Molly.
Slay.
I hope that he has a slay of a season as well. But see, I maintain I've said this all offseason, and I maintain this thought, and maybe you think I'm crazy, but I don't think Ty Simpson for Alabama to get to a college football playoff, he doesn't need to be a Heisman caliber quarterback. You need him to be a top 25 quarterback maybe in college football, but I think you can, with what you have around him this year, you need him to be a Jake Coker kind of a quarterback. You don't need him to be Bryce Young or Tua. Now, if he becomes that caliber of quarterback, then we're having a different conversation, and then Alabama's certainly going to be in the national title mix. But if you just have him play above average quarterback play, you're going to be in a good spot.
If the worst thing that happens this year is Ty Simpson and some of his drives ending in punts, you're fine. It's the pick sixes, it's the untimely turnovers. That's what you got to guard against, and some of those supporting pieces, outstanding wideouts. You feel pretty good about the offensive line defensively. There's question marks on both sides of the ball for everybody. coming into the season. That's just the nature of the transfer portal and replacing and how guys fit. But, yeah, for Ty Simpson, I think that being that heady quarterback and being kind of that coach on the field, that will be welcomed by a lot of Alabama fans.
Yeah, no, I certainly think it will, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out. And, like you said, just because you've stuck it out and you've kind of gone against the grain in the new era of college football doesn't guarantee you success. But I think from a leadership standpoint, it certainly sets up a pretty good picture there. And similarly, how you bring up Ty Simpson not being in a lot of these lists. Jackson Arnold is in a lot of these top 10 lists. And a lot of people, now granted, I've seen him in a lot of, seventh, eighth, that kind of a spot when it comes to the SEC quarterback rankings. But, that has to make you feel good if you're Auburn, because, the last couple of years you could have made an argument that Peyton Thorne was one of the 2 or 3 worst in the conference. And now you're going to a guy that, you would hope the floor for him is middle of the pack SEC quarterback. And if all of the things click like we think they can, you might have yourself a top 3 or 4 guy in the SEC this year. And then that's where the expectations for Auburn start to become a little more realistic.
I told you guys this a couple of weeks ago. If Jackson Dart, based on the pieces that they have on that offense, how they've filled needs on the offensive line, wide receiver room, argue it's the best in the SEC, one of the best certainly in the country. If he struggles or if they struggle on offense, that's a Jackson Arnold problem, in my opinion, early in the season.
Yes, I would think so. And maybe you could put a little bit of that blame on Hugh Freeze and Derek Nix there in the offensive staff. But no, I completely agree. He has everything that he didn't have last year at Oklahoma. He's now going to have that this year at Auburn. And I think that's also why you've heard, I know Pat said it on this show fairly recently, but if Jackson Arnold's a guy, and you could maybe say the same thing for Alabama and Ty Simpson, but if Jackson Arnold struggles early, you have so many weapons around him. You're not going to be surprised if Deuce Knight's a guy that gets a look as, hey, if you can't come in here and have success with these wide receivers around you, there's only so much we can do to help you. And so hopefully it doesn't get to that point for Auburn. Hopefully Jackson Arnold is the guy, and we see the reason he was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. But I'm with you. If this is it, you are set up for success in every single way. And if you're going to show some of the same problems you had at Oklahoma, maybe it's just a Jackson Arnold thing.
Yeah, we'll continue to discuss. You can vote there at the number 3 Man Front on Twitter, X, whatever you prefer to call it. As the poll is still open, you got plenty of time to vote. But as Molly said, Conrad, 52% Alabama fans right now, and then right behind them, Texas, then Georgia, then Auburn bringing up the rear. All right, we'll continue here on 3 Man Front this Thursday edition. Landrum, Conrad, and Molly. We open up the phone lines and the text line, 205-834-9450. Glad you're with us on a Thursday on Jocks 94.5. 10:16, three-man front on a Thursday. 800-239-WJOX. Text line 205-834-9450. Women's College World Series. Tejas. Texas getting it done against Texas Tech. The battle of the Lone Star State. Texas gets it done in dramatic fashion, Conrad. And as I did not watch the game, I just saw clips of the game, but pretty interesting the way that it all unfolded.
Yeah, so you had a couple of controversies actually in the game. So first off, you had a situation where Texas got called for interference, or their second baseman got called for interference, trying to tag one of the Texas Tech runners out at second because her foot was, I guess, in line with the bag in a way where technically you could call interference. So I know they were very upset about that. So you had some controversy there, but then they got their revenge later in the game because you had runners on second and third, Texas Tech trying to intentionally walk the Texas batter, 3-0 count, and instead of throwing it to the backstop or just throwing it into the other's batter's box, the pitcher throws it a strike, and the Texas batter rips a single to left field, scores 2 runs, and that was all she wrote. So Texas gets out of there with a 2-1 win on an errant pitch on an intentional walk, something you certainly don't see every day.
Well, we have a long summer of heat and humidity ahead, so keep your home comfortable with Trane, America's most reliable HVAC brand. And to give you more peace of mind, Trane is offering up to 10-year warranties on parts and labor on select home comfort systems. So to learn more about this offer and to find a specialist near you, visit Trane.com.
Game 2, Women's College World Series coming up tonight, 7 o'clock, the first pitch. So Texas trying to avenge what their baseball team could not do in falling in their regional. So maybe that will ease some of the pain of Texas Longhorn football fans, basketball fans. It was a tough season. Got a new coach, thumbs up. And also baseball falling short.
Yeah, and you kind of get to stick it to the Big 12 a little bit along the way if you are able to take it out and take care of business tonight or tomorrow in a decisive Game 3. But, yeah, that's a heartbreaker last night for Texas Tech. Your first time ever in the College World Series finals, and that's how you lose that first game to Texas. Absolutely brutal, but they'll get back at it tonight at 7 o'clock.
Now we take a stroll down memory lane on this date, June the 5th, back in 1986. This transpired.
Waited for Virgil to tag him because he felt that he missed the base. But on the replay, let's look at it, John.
Well, Big Robbins did not leave right away. He doesn't leave till Hubbard makes the catch. Now he's going. There's the double play. Now Horner comes home, and you're going to see that Roberts goes around Virgil, and he tags the plate. Now, we just missed it there, but please, he put his hand directly on the plate. He was safe, but it doesn't go. A triple play. Steve Burrows thrown out of the game. Steve Garvey. Now let's see it again. And Ernie, you'll see him, as you said, put his hand directly on the plate. It couldn't be more obvious. Look at this.
Yeah, it was. And great camera work, guys, on a very controversial play. The camera work was super. And Steve Garvey was thrown out for the first time in his career. I'll tell you, Ernie, I said in the second inning, what a nutty game.
What a nutty game. Thank goodness for replay, right? And you watched the clip.
That was, yeah. So I was unfamiliar with this situation until you sent me the clip and I watched it. I mean, that might be the most egregious missed call I've ever seen in my entire life.
It wasn't
even close.
It's one of them. And even though Major League Baseball is not perfect with a replay system now, it does make me appreciate that we have that.
That's why we have it, yeah.
The Padres absolutely got screwed. But it goes down as a triple play, and as you just heard, Steve Garvey, the first time in his Major League career, thrown out on this date in 1986. I
just like how, when you go back and watch the clip, you can see the catcher for the Padres. He's essentially, he can he can tell, in his internal clock almost, okay, the guy already crossed home plate. Like, I have no chance to make a tag on it. But then at the last second, he just kind of does a little courtesy, like, I'll just throw my hand out there so it looks like I attempted to tag him out. And he got the call, and you're just, that one is brutal. At least the Braves were on the Braves side of it.
Hey, Braves won that game 4-2. That leads me to, as bad as the Braves are playing, they lose again last night. It was terrible. You had runners in scoring position, especially late there in the game, and you had the guys coming to the plate that you wanted at the plate, and the Braves failed to deliver. That team right now is DOA. You had Boo Birds coming out. My wife, Dorothy, she didn't like it. I told you, it's my personal – I just don't do it. I don't chastise people who do it, but I don't boo my team. And she said, that's just wrong. They need to support the team. I said, well, let me ask you this. If you're Braves management right now and you're paying those bills and you've got that ballpark, would you rather the Braves fans voice their frustration by not showing up and spending money or by booze?
You're going to take the booze and the butts in the seats every time.
You are. And then she said, well, I didn't think about it that way. But she's worried about feelings. And I said, yeah, if they got millions of dollars, they're numb. They don't have feelings. Forget about it. But no, the Braves lose again. The Colorado Rockies, they sweep the Marlins.
Yep.
And now, besides the Scotty Scheffler, now the Marlins have won, just as many games or more than the Braves in the last 17 days?
Well, since June 2nd, they are 3-0, and Scotty Scheffler hasn't won an event this week, so because he hasn't played in one because it's the middle of the week. But, yeah, no, a big story there for the Rockies. So I wanted to ask you this about the Braves because I was thinking about this, and we talked about Snicker and how – what may transpire there with him and his future in Atlanta. What do you think the fan base's sentiment right now is towards Anthopoulos? Because I feel like for a while we have talked about him in very good regards, and I think he's done an excellent job.
Sure. He's getting some heat.
He is getting some heat now.
We're at Social Taco the other day, and we've got a couple of gentlemen who are Braves fans, and just as we were talking, they said, no, I blame the GM. Don't blame Snicker. I blame the GM. He could have gone out. He could have spent money. They mentioned Max Fried, but that was never the plan. I didn't agree with giving Max Fried a long-term, big, just mega deal. I don't think it's wise for a pitcher anyways.
No, I agree.
And but no, I don't know what's out there. I don't know what you can give up right now. You got a lot of guys that you got team control over their contracts through, I think, next season. You got other guys that are signed up to long-term deals. Ozuna has been the most likely name. But other than that, who?
But you're not going to be able to go out there and swing a deal that's going to change things this season.
Yeah. You don't you're going to give up Eli White? You're going to give up
you're not trading Baldwin.
Nick Allen, your shortstop? No. If Sean Murphy would be one for me, if somebody would like to.
Yeah, I think him and Ozuna would certainly be at the top of that list.
Yeah. But it's just not going well for the Braves. I saw a quote from Alex Anthopoulos saying, hey, we remember 2021. And now it really makes me nervous that people are bringing up the 2021 because I've already moved on from that. Mm-hmm. This is not a 2021 team. They've just not been good since word go. The 0-7 start, the inconsistencies, Yerkson Profar. Now that he doesn't have whatever they found in his body that was illegal when he does come back and he's got to earn that spot. But the body chemistry says everything. And that team, there is just no life in that team.
Well, and back to Anthopoulos, because if I'm, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure they, added more than this, but Profar was really the only splash they made this offseason, was it not?
Yeah.
And we saw how that pans out and whether he can, get back to the level he was last year without the PEDs. So, yeah, I was just curious because I think we've all looked at Anthopoulos as one of the best executives in baseball over the last 5 or 6 years. And so now it's, even those guys, you start to see the heat start cranking up when, you're 27-33 here in the beginning of June.
Good news is it's getaway day today at Truist. So an 11:15 first pitch Central Standard Time. So we can all watch the Braves lose together.
And then you can enjoy your night doing literally anything else.
No, watching anything else that I want to watch, which is always nice. Go Braves.
I know. I hate it. I know there's been some rough seasons around, but this just, what the Braves are going through right now, this seems like it's taking its toll on the fan base. Unlike I've seen recently.
Not happy about it, but it's one of those just frustrating seasons. We all have them as fans. Most of us do anyways. If you're a fan long enough.
I was about to say.
I'm used to it as a Braves fan.
I was about to say, there's probably a lot of Alabama fans out there that look at last year as a big frustration. Auburn fans probably look at the last 4 or 5 years as very frustrating.
My life being a sports fan is a big frustration.
Well, that's true.
It's turning around for you now, though.
Yeah, it is. Lions, Tigers.
Lions, Tigers. Nebraska
maybe the Huskers
was
will get there one day.
500.
Yeah, turning around.
But I found myself telling myself that, besides 2021, how many of these other seasons you said, man, that was an incredible season that you didn't win the World Series?
And that's a good thing from the standpoint of
I go Ricky Bobby. If you ain't first, you're last.
Yeah, and that's a good thing that those are the expectations you have, but it also means that it's incredibly frustrating when you don't get back to that mountaintop. And especially, with the team in 2021, the way that it was set up, I had similar feelings about, I know no one's going to have sympathy for me as a Yankees fan, but, back in 2017, 2018, when they started to get all these young guys, and you're like, man, this team could be really, really good for the next decade. And so at least for the Braves, you did get the one title, but I think when that started, you start to think, man, could this be a dynasty? Because you have all these guys locked up to long-term deals. And now here you are just 4 seasons later, and it's done a complete 180 essentially.
I will pose this question for you guys, and you can answer on the other side and pose it to our audience. What's the most frustrating season as a fan that you've ever had to endure? 800-239-WJOX, 205-834-9450. Most frustrating season as a fan, whatever sports team it was, whatever year it was. We want to hear from you. 3-Man Front on Thursday on Jocks 94.5. .10:31, 3-Man Front on this Thursday. Landrum, Conrad, Molly. Hope you're all doing well. Text line is open, 205-834-9450. We're just talking about the Braves. They got the early game today. You know it's bad as a Braves fan when our buddy Keller, who's a Rockies fan, he's feeling pretty good about himself.
Oh,
he's already asking, what are we going to wager on this Braves-Rockies series?
I love it.
That is a kick right in the nads, but you know what? Well played.
Hey, this is the one week of the year that he can probably have that sentiment. This might be the highlight of the entire Rocky season was these last 3 days.
Keller, I never thought I'd say it at any point this season, you guys are playing better baseball. Bottom line, you're the better team right now. Your guys want it more, for sure. I bet that clubhouse looks better. Hey, if you're ready for some summer fun, Poorhouse Branch Marina at Smith Lake is the only boat dealer with the Avalon pontoons, known for luxury, comfort, and performance. You pair it with the most fuel-efficient engine from Honda Marine. Get in-house financing. See it all at PoorhouseBranchMarina.com. Ask the question, what was the most frustrating season you've had to endure as a fan? You can go college football, NFL, Major League Baseball. Heck, you can go your kid's travel ball team. We've talked about travel ball for the last couple of days. I'm sure that just travel ball in general, the rigors of the schedule, that would be frustrating as a parent.
Regardless of the outcomes of the games, yeah.
Yeah. What is the most frustrating season you've had to endure as a fan? We'd love to hear from you. 800-239-WJOX, 205-834-9450. What about for you?
Yeah. So there's a few to choose from. And mine are going to be more recent, honestly. And I know I'll throw this caveat out there. 2000 Alabama is probably going to be on a lot of people's list. I was 4 years old during that season, so thankfully I do not remember it, in the moment of being alive. I've gone back and relived parts of it, and I know how brutal it was because you went 3-8 and you were number 3 in the AP poll to go into the season, and you win 3 football games. So I know that's going to be up there for a lot of people, but for me personally, it would be between 2, and they both happened in the last 3 years, actually. So Alabama last year, I think that's an easy one. I think a lot of people probably share that sentiment as well. That was incredibly frustrating. Granted, there were a lot of unique circumstances around last season where I think maybe some people will take it easy on them. But yeah, I mean, last season, you win 9 games, you lose to Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, and Michigan the way that you do. Jalen Milroe looks like an absolute shell of himself. The defense was completely out of whack for the first half of that season. There was no consistent running game to talk about outside of Milroe. And as good as Ryan Williams was the first half of the season, the second half of the season, he kind of disappeared because the quarterback play went down the drain as well. So last year for Alabama was incredibly frustrating. And I will say this, and I think, and you can attest to this probably quite well, Landrum, but the nature of doing the job that we do, it is I love doing it. I love talking about Alabama football, whether it's good, bad, ugly, whatever. But when they have a bad season and you have to come to work every day and face the music, it makes it a little more frustrating, to be completely honest with you.
It does.
And that's just part of it.
Whether you're a fan of the team or not.
Exactly. And we're happy to take on that, but that's certainly a different element that we have to it. So last year's Alabama for me, and then I would also throw out the 2023 New York Yankees because they went 82-80 that year. It's the worst record they've had in my entire life, which, again, you still finished over 500, so I don't expect a lot of sympathy there. But, that was just an absolute disaster of a season. You ended the year, I think they were like 32-48 down the last 80 games of the season. It was an absolutely brutal year. So those would be the two for me that stick out the most as frustrating because both of them you went in with high expectations and both of them you didn't make the ultimate goal, which was making a postseason and giving yourself an opportunity to compete for a title.
Most frustrating season as a fan for you, Molly?
First of all, Conrad, I'm not giving you any sympathy because one of my teams was the 08 Detroit Lions that went 0-16.
Would it be empathy or sympathy? Empathy, right?
Sure. I don't know.
But we talked about that yesterday. That was kind of fun, right?
Sure. But my other one, and this is my more recent, because the year that the Lions went winless was actually the first year that we lived in Detroit. We're trying to kind of immerse ourselves into Detroit sports. And
it was a transition period for the Robins.
You know what? It really was. But we still watched. We still would support. Because, coming from Alabama, we didn't really have an NFL team. So that was why we adopted the Lions when we moved up there. Mm-hmm. Anyway, besides the point. My other one would be my junior year of college at Nebraska, when, in my opinion, Nebraska that year went 3-9. It was probably the best 3-9 team of all time. They went 1-8 in the conference, but had a point differential of 0.
Yeah. Lost
every single game by 8 or less points. Mm-hmm. And had multiple fourth quarter leads and blew all of them. And there was so much hype. I mean, I felt like there was every year under Scott Frost, but considering what he did at UCF, this is the year, we're coming off of the COVID season. This is going to be the big transition year. And you went 3-9. The only team you beat was Northwestern, which in turn gave you the point differential of 0.
Was that the first game of the season?
No, it was homecoming.
Oh, it was homecoming.
Mm-hmm. But hey, it was a win.
Okay. For me, I've got a lot to pick from, and obviously I'm going to go Braves, but I'll go most recent, and that would have been the 2020 season. Actually, the pandemic year, you're up 3-1 on the Dodgers, and you allow them to come back, and the Dodgers eventually win a world championship. Last year was frustrating just from an injury standpoint, and then basically going wire to wire, having the best record in baseball and coming up short in the playoffs. But that's kind of rinse and repeat for me as a Braves fan. But most recent, the one that stings the most is that 2020 season.
Do you think is this season on pace to surpass that? If it, based on the way it's going now, if this is the way it plays out the rest of the way. I
didn't view this as a world championship team.
Okay.
But I certainly viewed it as a playoff team.
Okay.
And one that, hey, let's see what happens when we get to October, September, see how it all shakes out. But knew the Phillies were going to be good. Obviously knew the Mets, with the amount that they spent in the offseason, they were going to be good. And then losing guys like Max Fried and others, and some of the question marks and some of the voids, how are these guys going to fit in? And so far, it is not going swimmingly.
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, I was curious because I could see a number of Braves fans maybe thinking that, this year was just the most frustrating, because there were a lot of people, I know you said you didn't, but a lot of people did have expectations that maybe the Braves would be, I think a lot of people expected the Dodgers to win the World Series, but maybe the Braves would be their biggest challenger, and now to look like you're not even going to make the postseason is rough. But I think we can all agree it's not as bad as Molly and her team going 0-16, because at least for us, like, again, okay, my worst season is, Alabama didn't make the playoff one year and the Yankees, barely finished above 500. You're looking at it, okay, the pandemic season was rough. You've had some injury-rattled seasons, but you got to the postseason. You just didn't meet the expectations once you got there. And so, again, doesn't mean it's not frustrating, doesn't mean it's not disappointing, but it does, I guess, just kind of show how, compared to some fan bases, like the Lions, for example.
The Lions, the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, going to 3 straight Super Bowls and not winning one. I mean, that's four.
God bless those fans.
Yeah, that's – they're still looking for it.
They're still – and you know what? I love their persistence.
Yeah.
And they quit being fans.
Mm-hmm. I felt bad for Rangers fans for a long time. You went to back-to-back World Series, and you finally got one a couple years ago, and so that, I think, kind of makes good for that. But that's a similar boat where it's, man, you have never won a championship. You get to the promised land 2 years in a row, and you come up just short. And I know, Pat, a big fan of, Rick Ankiel and everything that happened in one of those series. But, yeah, I mean, they would be up there as well. It's just kind of interesting how you compare frustrating seasons for teams that are abysmally bad versus, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, good seasons that are just frustrating because you had higher expectations for your team that year.
Most frustrating season you've had to endure as a fan. We want to hear from you. Who was it? What season was it? 800-239-WJOX. Stephen and Michael, hang on. The text line is open. A lot of your good texts coming in as well. We'll get to those. 205-834-9450. Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider at the top of the hour. 3-man front here on a Thursday on Jocks 94.5. 10:43, 3-man front. Most frustrating season you've endured as a sports fan. Would love to hear from you. 205-834-9450, 800-239-WJOX. That's the phone lines. We go there first. Steven wants to chime in. Hey, Steven, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. 2013 Alabama, kick 6.
Ooh.
My wife and I, at the time, were dating. I'm on one end of the house. She's on the other end. She's an Auburn fan. I'm an Alabama fan. So I'm working at a sports place that, sells shirts and everything. So I've got to go sell these Auburn shirts. So I don't even say a word, walk out of the house. She's like, "You're not going to say anything?" Nope. Left, drove down there. 45 minutes later, her best friend and her cousin comes walking in. "Hey, honey, how are you doing?" I looked at one of the girls. I said, "Charge them triple for everything they buy." She's like, "I still have that shirt." I said, "Yeah, it's a collector's item to y'all. Y'all don't get many of those." And but I get revenge because they play FSU. So the place I worked at, the manager was a fraternity brother of mine. My DM, I played baseball with and grew up with in Montgomery. The district manager in Yulee, Florida, was my 8th grade science teacher's son. So I called him up the next day. I need 3 Florida State shirts sent to Alabama. Okay. Truck shows up on Thursday. I've got 3 shirts. My best friend's a Florida State fan. His mom was an AOPI there. She got one. He got one, and I have one, and I still have that shirt too.
Wow.
So yeah.
So 2013 for you, but you got a little bit of revenge, or not revenge. I guess it made you feel better when FSU broke Auburn's heart there in Pasadena.
It was, and then the next week, a friend of mine sent me a picture, and somebody had gotten a university tag, and all it said was THX FSU. Thanks, FSU.
Stephen, thank you for the phone call. We appreciate it.
All right.
As a matter of fact, that's the last time Jimbo Fisher did something significant. But besides for this radio program and others like us, the back and forth that he had with one Nick Saban.
Yeah, that was a good time. That was some good content we got out of that, wasn't it?
But if it wasn't for Jimbo A&M fans, you wouldn't have gotten Mike Elko.
That's absolutely right, and you wouldn't have been able to go 8-4 yet again last year.
That's right. Let's go to Michael. Hey, Michael, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, Wes. I'll go with the 2012 Auburn season.
Ooh.
I wasn't alive, but the 93 Auburn season, the 04 Auburn season, and the 2012 basketball season.
So most frustrating, though, for you was Auburn 93, the undefeated 11-0. They couldn't play on TV?
No, because I wasn't alive. I'll go with the 04. I'll go with the 04. Yeah, it was pretty frustrating that we didn't get a chance to go to that championship.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from now, because you got the USC and Oklahoma title game when that Auburn team absolutely should have been playing USC for a shot at the title. Really good ones, Michael. We appreciate the phone call.
Well, and that's similar to, we had someone text in and say that their most frustrating season was Alabama in 1966, which is the year that they went undefeated and didn't get the national championship, and it was split between Notre Dame and Michigan State. And so Alabama, a lot of people think that was a year they got robbed of a national title like 2004 Auburn.
Would it be 2017 for what year would it be for UCF fans where they claimed the mythical national championship?
17.
Oh, 17.
2017.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for that, Nebraska wouldn't have gotten Scott Frost.
That's right.
Congratulations,
We
Molly.
wouldn't have had the 2021 season that I was just talking about.
You can thank Auburn and Gus Malzahn for that one.
Text line. Let's get to some of your texts. 205-834-9450. Most frustrating season you've endured as a fan. The genesis of this is the Braves right now. They're terrible. I'm a huge Braves fan. You listen to the program. It's no secret. I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, and that's the worst thing is it, and for us, working with you every day and seeing you and how you're, there was that hope I felt like early on in the season where I know you said, starting off 0-7, it's rough, but there were opportunities, a couple weeks ago when you get over 500, right?
Yeah.
There's a glimmer of hope. Spencer Strider comes back. Acuna comes back and hits a home run in his first at bat. And you start to think, okay, there's the light is there on the horizon. And now
you start thinking, all right, well, Ozzy's going to turn it on.
Yep.
And Michael Harris II, he's going to start hitting his weight.
And now you've got to
Ozzy's
the
come
point
on a
where you
little
don't
bit.
expect that to happen anymore.
Michael Harris is great in the outfield, but his bat has been poo.
This is the
Just
problem he
straight
had
poo.
last year, wasn't it? Didn't he get off to a cold start last year?
He did. But again, I don't think there's any hope. I think they all retire at the end of the year.
The whole team retires, just
Whole
start
team.
from scratch.
Whole team except for Drake Baldwin.
Except even Acuna and Strider, just they're done.
No.
Schwelly?
Called a career.
No, not Swelly or Grant Holmes.
See, and that's the thing.
Holmes is going today.
And that's the thing where you look at the Braves and you go, man, if you can find a way to get a wild card spot, I mean, if you've got a healthy Strider, if he can get there, but a healthy Strider, Chris Sale the way he's pitching, Schwelly the way he's been,
And Grant Holmes has been good.
that's as good of a rotation as you're going to see in October. Like you can go toe to toe with anybody there. You just have to find a way to get.
You just
your
got to
foot
have
in the
3
door.
solid starters, right?
Yeah, and you just got to find a way to get in the door.
Situational hitting right now is the problem. You got to be able to score runs.
Yep, I was about to say Chris Sale was excellent last night, but it doesn't mean a whole lot when your guy goes 6 innings and 1 earned run and you can't score.
One
a single
yesterday,
run.
3 the day before. You had 1 against the Red Sox on Sunday. Got to score runs.
And like you said, you had guys on 2nd and 3rd in the 8th inning yesterday. You had the bases loaded when you strike out to end the game yesterday, and it's rough.
Text coming in. Easy. Alabama football 2000. Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of high projections there.
Started off number 3, and you won 3 games that year.
That was the year they opened with the UCLA, right?
I believe you are correct, yes.
Jimmy says, as a Braves fan, the most frustrating was probably the 99 season, 0-4 against the Yankees in the World Series. Yeah. There were a lot of those. Again, you have a lot to choose from if you're a Braves fan. I just thought it was interesting. Michael went from the standpoint most frustrating, not getting a chance to play for a championship as far as that. But then the Braves, for most of those years, they're rolling right along and they get to the playoffs. And what happened?
Well, and that was my thing because y'all won, what was it, 14 straight NL East titles or something like that?
It was crazy.
Like, what was the frustration like for that to only have 1 World Series title out of that 14, however many year stretch that was? Like, was it just a.
Oh, yeah. But then it got to be kind of a joke. You expected it.
Yeah.
And then it was, with the exception of 1995 and that world championship that we got, it was a lot of high expectations entering the postseason. And then it was either the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Twins. You name the team.
Yep.
And getting your heart broken. Sometimes not even getting the chance to get your heart broken in a World Series and not making it there. Continue with the text. Brandon says 2003 Auburn preseason top 5. Yeah, that was good. Started 0-2, finished 8-5. The team had so much talent, it was wasted so much that the board tried to replace Tommy Tuberville midseason. Yeah, that was the infamous Jet Gate there to go and see Bobby Petrino.
Mm-hmm.
He sat on the plane. That was awkward.
Yeah.
But Tommy Tuberville next year, to his credit, 2004.
Mm-hmm.
They rolled it off 13-0. They started the season in 2003. They played, I think that was Matt Leinart and USC that rolled in 2003. And I think you played, was that Reggie Ball in Georgia Tech? It was.
Just kind of ironic that then the next year you were hoping for another chance to play Matt Leinart in USC in what you thought was going to be the national championship game, and you don't get that opportunity. So, yeah, that's a rough back-to-back seasons there for Auburn. You don't meet expectations the first year, and then the second year you exceed those expectations, but you don't get a seat at the table.
Don texts in, frustrating season. Last year's Auburn football season blew 3 or 4 games we could have won. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was where I was kind of interested with the Auburn perspective of over the last 4 or 5 years, which one would you claim to be the most frustrating? I didn't know if people would go maybe a Brian Harsin year, or you would go last year because you did kind of have some expectations last year and it just didn't pan out for you.
Another one rolling in for Auburn, one of the most frustrating seasons. 2004, going undefeated, beating Tennessee twice, one in Neyland, one in the SEC championship game, being left out only to watch OU be destroyed by USC.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably just frustrating as an SEC fan and watching that OU team get that berth and then.
Well, and going, hey, we could have at least
destroyed.
put up that good of a fight. Yeah. If nothing else.
This one, the whole time Harsin was at Auburn, was dreadful. Keep up the good work. Brant. Thank you, Brant.
Yeah. That's going to be a tough one for some people.
Well,
It's worse. You could have been an Arkansas fan when Chad Morris was there.
Right?
I'm sure that would be Ty's answer. One of those seasons, or just both of them.
Yeah, Tay says toughest stretch as a Cub fan, the Bartman play in 2003 and the struggle to complete for a World Series until winning in 2016.
See, and that was one of those moments for me as a sports fan that I could really care less about the Cubs. You know, I don't really feel one way or the other about them, but seeing them win that World Series, that was such an awesome moment.
I agree.
Because you've been waiting on it for just so long. And even, again, like, as a Yankees fan, it was awful for me that one of my first real experiences was 2004 with the Red Sox. But even I can acknowledge what happened there and be like, are you ever going to see that again? Probably not.
See, and for me, I was thinking for frustrating, the 2019, I think it was the year before COVID, the Tigers, I think they won like 45, 46 games. And everybody, like, at least for Tigers fans, they always talk about the 03 team, but I was 2, so I don't really remember that one.
It still counts, though.
It still counts, though.
You can go
as a
back
frustrating season, yeah.
I'm sure you cried a lot as a baby about it.
I did.
You probably
were
did.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Seth in Huntsville says worst season was Alabama football 2010 with getting Steven Garcia in the Cam comeback.
Ooh, yeah, that one was rough.
Thanks a lot, G-Mac.
Yeah, come on, Greg.
Then Auburn winning the Natty. Next worst was every year under Shula.
I don't know if I've ever told this story before, but for the Iron Bowl, the comeback, I was visiting family in Baltimore, and so unfortunately, I had to get on a plane at halftime of that game. So as you can imagine, I'm sitting in there in the airport watching the first half of this game like,
cocky Conrad.
I don't even care if I miss the second half. Let's get on this plane and go home. And I step off the plane, and much different than when I'd gotten on the plane.
Did you fall to your knees in the terminal and just cry?
No, I did not. But I remember that was, I think, the first time that my dad maybe realized, oh, you, like, this is very serious to you. I was like, yeah, no, we're not messing around with this. Yeah, that was a brutal experience.
This one rolls in. Yeah, thank goodness. Getting off work, go home to my 6-month-old and watching that train wreck was brutal. Thank God my son doesn't remember those days, LOL, but he is a Bama fan. So I did my job as a parent.
Wait, what year is he talking about?
2000.
Okay. Yeah, going to get a lot of those.
We'll get to more of your text. Rodney Orr, Tider Insider. Ask him. What
most frustrating season of Alabama football.
He joins us next, 3-Man Front, here on this Thursday. Week's kind of flying by. At least it is for me. Jocks 94.5, JocksFM.com, the Jocks 94.5 app, and Jocks TV. They're on YouTube. Wave, everybody. Say hello. Hello. Rodney Orr next. Almost 11 o'clock here on Three Man Front on a Thursday. Lance from Conrad and Molly. Pat is back with us on Monday. Pat said that he was taking care of some moat duties. I really asked him about the filtration, what you do with the gator stuff. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure he's listening right now.
It decomposes, right? It's good for the environment?
That's what they say. I don't know where the water drains. There probably needs to be an investigation of the EPA and the groundwater and what it looks like out there around the Smith residence. Smith Manor, as we like to call it here on the show. Most frustrating season you've had to endure as a fan. A lot of those texts coming in. 205-834-9450. We'll get to more of your texts on the text line. We'll open up the phone lines again. Rodney or Tighter Insider is going to be coming up. I'd be interested if we pose this question to Rodney, what he would say and what a lot of Alabama fans would say. We've seen 2000. We've seen a good bit of that. We've also seen 2010, 2013 for Alabama, for Auburn, whether it was the Harsin era, whether it was 2004, as Michael said, not getting a chance to play for a national title, 1993, the undefeated season, and Terry Bowden taking over, but because of NCAA probation, not being able to do it, but still a cherished time for Auburn fans. And I was at that Iron Bowl. It was not shown on TV.
No, it was not. And I think that's, this is what makes this such an interesting conversation is what you were just talking about of, you have some people that view it and it's just
different
kind of
degrees of frustration.
Yeah, what your definition of it is, right? Because I think, for example, with Auburn in 2004, it wasn't a frustrating season in the sense that you went undefeated. It's frustrating because you thought that you deserved a shot at the title and you didn't get it. And you compare that to something like 2012 Auburn, where you win 3 games, and that's frustrating in its own right, but not because you didn't have a chance to compete for a title. It's because you were just really, really bad. And how do you kind of compare and contrast the two? So that's what makes it an interesting conversation.
Our friend Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider, he always joins us on Thursdays at 11 o'clock here on Three Man Front. Rodney, we posed a question. I'm a Braves fan, and the Braves just not good right now, and it's really frustrating for a fan like me. For you personally, for the Alabama Crimson Tide in football, I know that there's been several, but what's the one that comes to mind, most frustrating season as an Alabama fan for Alabama football?
Well, that's a great question. So as I think back over the years, I might surprise you on this one.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you it was an undefeated regular season, 1973. They lose the national championship. New Year's Eve, one of the greatest games ever, actually. They lose 24-23 to Notre Dame. And again, and I know Alabama won the national championship in the UPI poll, coaches poll at the time. But that was voted on before that game. And really the Associated Press poll was the one that really got all the attention back then.
Right.
So it was, man, that is the most disappointing ending to a season that I can ever remember. I mean, it was devastating to lose that game by 1 point. And, hey, as an Alabama fan, not just me, but many Alabama fans have carried that. So just the way that ended, I think, the season maybe was great, but the way it ended was really frustrating. But there have been other seasons that have obviously been, as a whole, been horrible.
Well, let's just put what you just said in perspective. And a lot has changed from the UPI and the AP to the BCS era to what we have now with the college football playoff and then the evolution and the expansion of teams. You think there's outcry now about a scheduling format or how we award it and how the committee views things? You're voted before the game is even played as the national champion, and then you have another vote. It's wild. And that's not just pertaining to Alabama. That's just college football as a whole. Yeah. So be careful what you ask for, I guess. We've at least progressed in that sense that
a long way.
It looks like we're at least attempting to crown a true champion in that sense.
No, it's come a long way. I mean, there were so many split national championships back in the day. 66, you could go back, Michigan State, Notre Dame. Alabama split it, like we said, with Notre Dame that year, which really you kind of look at Notre Dame and say they won the game. They were the national champions. But and then, 78, Alabama split it with USC. There's been so many other split national championships. But, yes, this has come a long way, the process of crowning a champion has come a real long way.
So, Rodney, would you consider, when we're talking about most frustrating seasons, would you think that last year's Alabama team, would that be on a short list for you of the most frustrating? Because I know you've been talking about, teams that they're in the 70s, and those are different circumstances, right? Of you lost a
Right.
national championship game, whereas last year you didn't even make the playoffs. So, kind of how you compare and contrast frustrations in those circumstances. I just didn't know your thoughts on last year, if that would make your list.
Well, I think last year was again when you look at the entire perspective of it, the transition year, you knew there was a chance. I mean, history has told me anyway that a lot of the transition years, especially as I look at Alabama, have been kind of tough. I mean, Ray Perkins went 8-4 his first year. Curry went 7-5. Stallings went 7-5. I mean, you could go on and on. Franchione, I think, went 7-5 or 6-7-6, something like that. Same with Saban. So I mean, I figured that this could be, and I understand it was different that he inherited DeBoer inherited a team that obviously had some talent coming back, but I just think it was the first year. So I look at it from that perspective. Yeah, there was a lot of frustration. But at the same time, I think part of that was due to the transition.
Rodney or Tighter Insider joining us on Three Man Front on the Higginbotham Hotline. We were discussing when we opened up the show, and we have our Twitter poll question of the day about who is the next SEC team to win the college football playoff. Alabama is leading the vote at last check. Georgia, Texas, and then we also have Auburn as an option. But Conrad made the point. We're talking quarterback and Ty Simpson, and Conrad, you can just go ahead and say what you said about Ty Simpson and how good he has to be.
Yeah. So, Rodney, basically my point was, in my opinion, can Ty Simpson be Jake Coker, right? In the sense that I don't think Ty Simpson needs to be a Heisman caliber quarterback. He just needs to be a good quarterback for Alabama to have a shot to contend for a playoff and maybe even a title.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Rodney?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's accurate in terms of he does. I mean, he has to be, really steady and eliminate mistakes. And I know that was one thing he was really focused on this spring was eliminating mistakes and being consistent, playing consistent football. So I think, yeah, that's really key. And I do think too, as we say that, I think it's more important too that not just be a game manager. He's going to have to be able to make plays. There always comes a game with a quarterback. Nowadays, it's almost every game, but quarterback has to make some plays to win the game. And but no, I think he has to be that game manager per se. But also, I think it's important the way they want to execute this offense. Get the ball to their playmakers and all of those things. It's going to be on Ty to make some plays as well, and I think he's fully capable of that. In terms of the skills that he has.
So something that goes kind of hand in hand with that, we all know, Rodney, is the offensive line play, and we know how talented some of these guys are individually, but I would say the offensive line hasn't been maybe up to the standard Alabama fans would like to see for the last couple of years. And I know people give or take with PFF and their ratings and how people view them, but PFF came out. They said they project Alabama to have the best offensive line in college football this upcoming season. Do you think that they have the capability of being the offensive line in college football? And just kind of how do you measure that group or assess them at this point in the offseason?
Yeah, I saw that. And the defensive line was number 2 behind Clemson. I don't, So I really don't know how PFF comes to these conclusions. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I just don't know how you make that kind of prediction. But I would say this. I mean, I look at, obviously Caden Proctor's a really talented guy at left tackle. I think they might have the best center in the country in Parker Brailsford. Jaden Roberts is going on his 3rd year as a starter. He's got a ton of experience. He's an extraordinarily physically gifted guy, real powerful. He was not healthy last year for the most part. I mean, he had some struggles there, but he should be better, obviously. And then I think at right tackle, I think Wilkin Formby's ready to take that next step. The question on the offensive line, maybe to me, would be one of the questions would be left guard. Who's going to step in there? Cam Dewberry, the transfer from Texas A&M, has he has a lot of experience from SEC experience at Texas A&M. So Maybe he fills in there. Maybe it's Vandermark, Gino Vandermark. I think they're really, yeah, they've got the potential to be really, really good. I think maybe depth. You got to stay healthy because I'm not sure they have much depth there. If one or two guys were to go down.
Rodney, I'm very interested. What was the reaction on the message board at Tighter Insider of Ryan Williams saying that I want to kill ants with a sledgehammer this year when talking about the opponents? How did that go over?
Well, didn't see a lot of discussion about that. I did get some calls and some text messages. People not comfortable with that. Not comfortable with comments like that. So, yeah, I did. In fact, I got one this morning from Texas, actually. Someone who had heard about the comment, and they really questioned, why these comments were being made.
Well, if this was Nick Saban running this team, would that have been something that Nick Saban would have handled internally, or would that have even ever been said if Nick Saban's the head coach?
Well, it would have definitely. Let's just put it this way: if it had been said, there would have probably been something said about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it would have happened twice. I would think that. And again, I don't know, how DeBoer felt about it or whatever. Or maybe he's addressed it a little bit, but no, I don't think Saban would have been real comfortable with that.
Yeah, probably not. Rodney Orr from Tighter Insider spending a few more minutes with us here, as he does each and every Thursday on Three Man Front. So I know it was a big recruiting weekend last weekend for the Tide, Rodney. Looks like this weekend, again, shaping up to be a pretty good one. Looks like you're going to have about maybe a dozen kids on campus this weekend, including some 5-stars. So what can you tell us about this upcoming weekend for Alabama on the recruiting trail?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, I think it's another impressive list. They had a great list come in last weekend and made a lot of headway, I think, with some of those guys. And then you look at this weekend, they got the number one corner coming in, Jordan Edmonds, who, of course, is already committed. You've got the number one linebacker coming in, Xavier Griffin, out of Gainesville, Georgia, who was originally committed to USC for a long time, for almost a year. And then Alabama's kind of considered the favorite by many right now, but Texas is still in there very heavily. Ohio State's in there very heavily. We'll see what happens with him. And then you've got Jira Edwards as a 5-star safety coming in from Baltimore. After last week, they had a 5-star safety from Las Vegas, Jet Washington, come in. I think you've got an outstanding offensive lineman from Orange, California coming in, Sam Atu, 6'4", 330, could play guard, could potentially play tackle. I think you've got a sleeper. And I say sleeper. He's rated a 4-star player, but nobody really talks much about Jaquez Wilkes out of Wadley, Alabama. I know he was a phenom in the state playoffs last year, but he's coming in he's considered more of an edge, I guess they call him now. Used to call him outside linebacker, defensive end types. And you know what? They have a quarterback that's really interesting to me. Of course, last week they had Jet Tamala come in from Omaha, Nebraska, who's really a good player, committed to Iowa State. But they've got a kid coming in this weekend from the legendary school, Moeller High School, back in the day. Jerry Faust back in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, really built that program up, and it's been a traditionally great program. But Ponatoski was the the Ohio Gatorade State Player of the Year in football and baseball this past season. Some people think he's a top 25 prospect for next year in baseball. So, but he's an outstanding quarterback. He's coming in, and a great tight end from Bowden, Georgia, Caden Prothro. So those are some of the guys that are going to be here. And then, of course, the next couple of weeks are going to be really big as well.
All right, quickly, Rodney, I did want to ask you about somebody who he is committed to Georgia, but I know there were some Alabama fans that were maybe a little confused about this. So you have Justice Fitzpatrick. For anybody that doesn't know, he's the little brother of Minka, who we all know, one of the greatest players in at least modern Alabama history. So he commits to Georgia a couple days ago. Seems like Alabama was never really in the mix, at least late in his recruitment. Can you tell us anything? Was that a situation where maybe Justice he wanted to go and create his own path? He didn't want to follow Minka's footsteps to Alabama? Or was it maybe more of Alabama saying, hey, we feel like we're pretty good in the secondary right now, so we're not going to, kind of put all of our resources towards him?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And, I think people probably hated to see that because of Minka, and this Justice is obviously a really highly touted player going to Georgia. But you also remember, Minka played really for Kirby. When Kirby was here for a couple of years.
That's a good
before,
point.
Yeah, and I think well, he played for him obviously as a freshman, and then Kirby went over to Georgia, so they already have a relationship, and I think that probably might have played some role in it. And like you said, I mean, Alabama has some very highly recruited and very impressive young corners, so I don't know how much that played in it, but I do think the relationship with Kirby probably had something to do with it.
Always great stuff. Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider, at Tighter Insider there on X. Rodney, we always appreciate the time. Thank you for the visit. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
You guys do the same. Appreciate it. Take care.
Rodney Orr joining us. All of our guests join us in the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. We will get to more of your text. You want to chime in on the phone lines, you can do that as well. Most frustrating season you've endured as a fan. Three-man front on a Thursday on Jocks 94.5. 11:19, always a fun visit. Tighter Insider's Rodney Orr. If you miss any part of that discussion, you can find it there at 3 Man Front Podcast at jocksfm.com. Did you like what he said about Ty Simpson? Because he somewhat agreed with you.
Yeah, no, I thought that I thought what Rodney said was astute in the sense that, probably saying it better than I did earlier, in the sense that, Ty Simpson can't be a game manager, right? He's going to have to make plays, whether it's with his arms or with his legs, which we know he is capable of doing a little bit with his legs that we've seen in limited action from him. But no, I mean, it's the idea of you don't need him to be a Bryce Young, right? In the sense of you don't need him to go and win the Heisman Trophy and be this all-world, future number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft caliber quarterback to reach the goals that you have set for yourself this season. Doesn't mean he doesn't need to be a good quarterback, because he does need to be a good quarterback. He just doesn't need, in my opinion, to be a top 5 quarterback, and that's kind of what Rodney shared a similar sentiment on. So I think it's, and that's where, with setting the expectations for the fan bases, I think there's a lot of people that are looking at, I don't know if Ty Simpson's going to be good because you're comparing him to a guy that won a Heisman Trophy or a guy in Tua that came in here and kind of reshaped what we think of when we think of Alabama quarterbacks. And if he can be that player, that would be wonderful. Alabama would certainly take that. And that's when we start talking about Alabama being a national title contender, if that's the case. But when we're talking about getting to a playoff and just trying to win a couple of games in the postseason and have a chance to compete for a title, I think Ty Simpson is more than capable of being that guy this year.
And reasons to be excited because the wide receiver core, and you add a very talented guy from Miami. You think you've improved your offensive line, and Ryan Grubb. How much of a difference is that? Is that a stark contrast from what we got from Sheridan? I would, just based on the track record, I would think so. And apparently Ryan Grubb kind of bringing that edge. While you might have the blueprint, you might have the recipe. It's kind of like anything else. There's maybe that certain pinch of this or a pinch of that, or there's not exactly an exact measurement of this particular ingredient. That dynamic, what does that look like with new quarterback, namely Ty Simpson and also Ryan Grubb? That's going to be fascinating for me.
Yeah, and I mean, and going back to something we were talking about earlier, Rodney brought it up as well, is it's, when it comes to what you're getting from Ty Simpson, you just need him to not turn the ball over, right? Because that was the problem with Jalen Milroe at times last year, was you just lost so many possessions and you found yourself behind the 8 ball so many times because you were turning the ball over. And then when you did score, it was so quick that a lot of times the defense was in difficult positions. And so now, if you're Ty Simpson, the thing we heard about him in spring ball was, okay, maybe Keelan Russell and Austin Mack will make throws that make your jaw drop sometimes with just the raw talent that they possess. But they're also going to force some throws, and they're going to make those decisions that are questionable because they think they can make all the throws, and sometimes you just can't. Whereas Ty Simpson, okay, maybe he's not going to make as many of those plays that make you go, wow, that's a future NFL star right there. But he's not going to turn the ball over, and he's going to consistently find the open guy. And I think that's a lot of what, going back to last year, you mentioned it, we were talking about it in the break. Ryan Williams doesn't have trouble getting open. Jeremy Bernard doesn't have trouble getting open. It was you had a quarterback that didn't see them when they got open. And so if Ty Simpson can just do those things, the fundamental aspects of being a quarterback, pitch and catch. I know it's not as simple as that, but in some ways it is. It's pitch and catch, find the open guys, give them the ball. And I think when it comes to distributing the ball to the playmakers, because that's really where your bread and butter is going to be with Alabama, is the skill guys. I think Ty Simpson can certainly be up to that task.
It's easy for us as fans to look at the result of a play and say, what a boneheaded call.
Yep.
But how many of those plays, by design, they would have worked, and everybody executed except for the quarterback, making the wrong read, throwing to the wrong guy, waiting too late. That's why I love watching the UFL, and I love when Coach Skip Holtz is mic'd up.
You get that insight.
Yeah, when Jamar, whoever the quarterback is, comes over and he says, "What are you doing here? Whoa, 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 whoa! We're supposed to go here." Mm-hmm. Or no, that's whatever it may be. Kind of opens your eyes to, well, it's not always on the coach. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, it's not always on the player. Quarterback, sometimes there's nobody to throw to because guy doesn't run the right route or there's a missed assignment. It really does take 11 guys executing at a high level to make things happen.
Well, and I think, look at examples for Auburn and Alabama recently, right? For Alabama, the final game against Michigan in the college football playoff 2 years ago, people were mad. Why are you running the ball here? Well, the play probably was going to work, but J.C. Latham missed a block and it got blown up, and that's why the play ultimately didn't work. Now, I know there's low snap and things like that, but that wasn't so much on Milroe. It wasn't necessarily on, Tommy Rees. It wasn't a bad play call. The execution was flawed. And similarly for Auburn, you can go and look at, the Oklahoma game last year. Yeah, should Peyton Thorne have thrown that pick six at the end of the game? No. But why are you throwing the football there, right? Why is Hugh Freeze calling a pass play in that situation? And so while you can look and go, God, can't believe Peyton Thorne just lost us that football game. Well, why did he even have that play call in the first place? Similarly, wow, Jalen Milroe he can't get across the goal line. Well, maybe if his guys had blocked for him, the snap was better, it would have worked out, and then we'd be having a different conversation. So it is very easy, like you're saying, for us to sit at home, play Monday morning quarterback, and go criticize. But it's not only the 11 guys on the field, like you're saying, it's also the guys on the sideline that are calling the plays, and you have to set your guys up for success.
And you got a guy, Ryan Grubb, that's been calling offense. He's had a high level of success. That's why the NFL was able to lure him away. But he knows what it's supposed to look like. Whereas Sheridan kind of removed from it. You had DeBoer, first year on the job, not making excuses. That's just a reality and a lot on the plate. But that's ultimately, that's Kalen DeBoer's job as the head coach, as it is every other coach. But that, for me, is the number one thing, is Ryan Grubb, the impact that he has on the offense. And you can't give him all the credit because you're going to have new pieces there. But I think Ryan Grubb, that could be huge.
Absolutely. I mean, just imagine whatever your job is, and, in Nick Sheridan's place, like, for me, for example, right, imagine – I've been here at Jocks for 5 or 6 years. Imagine I got hired here, and the first day they said, all right, you're going to host a show from 10 to 2 in the afternoon. It's going to be you. That's your show. Oh, well, I don't really have any experience yet. Okay, well, no, we're just going to throw you to the fire. That's kind of what happened with Sheridan last year, right? He had never been an offensive coordinator before. And so not only is it his first year, it's your first year, and you're at Alabama with expectations of winning a national championship, and that's your first year getting that kind of experience. So, anybody at their job, imagine that your first day at your new job, you were given your boss's job and said, hey, here's the keys to the kingdom, figure it out. That's a tough position for anybody to be in. So I think Ryan Grubb there's a reason that we were so excited, and the Alabama fan base was so excited about that hire, and why there was a lot of frustration last year when he was on campus for 2 weeks before he bailed for Seattle, because you knew that was such an important piece of the puzzle for Kalen DeBoer and his staff. And now, you certainly don't have excuses this year, right? You have all the guys in place. This is the team you want. The guys are committed. They've had multiple opportunities to leave. So no more times for excuses now. You need results.
Well, now, Conrad, don't forget, imagine that hypothetical scenario. You come in, you're asked on your first day to host the show 10 to 2, and then people start really complaining about what you're wearing, and you're not wearing a collar.
That would be a great point. And they would complain because I don't wear collars.
Yeah, most frustrating season you've had to endure. As a sports fan, let's go to Chris. Hey, Chris, how are you?
It's all good, guys. How y'all doing? And then where's Pat?
Pat is off today and tomorrow. He'll be back on Monday.
He's tending the moat.
You would think my most frustrating thing would be, as an Alabama fan, would be some of the years, but actually, compared to I guess I'm pretty happy as an Alabama fan, because I think when I always tell you guys about losing having perspective, like, you still having winning seasons.
Right.
Let's consider that if you're Ole Miss or the likes of Mississippi State. I'll take that as May. And you would think as a Saints fan, it'll be the no call season. Actually, no.
So you don't have you don't have one season as a sports fan, whether it's the Saints or Alabama?
I do.
Okay, what is it?
Saints 2019 season, actually.
Okay.
When they lost on January 6, 2019 to the Minnesota Vikings on a final play.
The Minnesota Miracle.
Yeah.
With Stephon Diggs.
It wasn't the Minnesota Miracle, actually. I think it was the final play to Adam Thielen, and on one pass, and then seal the deal on it was Zach Randolph for I guess it was an OT touchdown.
You're right.
And I remember that night what I did. First, that initial reaction of the final play, I punched the side of the house so heavy. People inside the home thought it was an earthquake.
I can imagine that. You're a big fella.
Then I got in my sheets and started playing My Immortal by Evanescence. And then the follow up on the playlist to go with is Disturbed by the Sound of Silence. Dog Place. And
So was the year
And to
before
finish it
that,
off-
Chris? Was the year before that when y'all played the Rams and there was the no call on the pass interference and y'all got screwed over on that one?
That one did it frustrate me? Yeah, but not to a degree to that because I based it off the season. The
Yeah.
season was kind of up and down on wayward, but that season was more elite play. We just got screwed over.
Good stuff.
But when it's almost to the point where 2019 was like, I should put a remix of The Lion King Part 2. They played that song. All of us instead of saying what the disgrace or whatnot, should have said dejection, disgrace. We disgraced ourselves.
Beautiful, Chris. Hey, we always appreciate the participation. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you chiming in. Most frustrating season you've had to endure as a sports fan. We'll continue with your text. Phone lines are open, 800-239-WJOX. Rob Pate talking Auburn at 11:45, and the Coach Skip Holtz talking Stallions. Giddy up. Conference championship game here in Birmingham on Sunday. Three-man front and Jocks, 94.5. $11:33, three-man front. Frustrating season. What's the most you've had to endure as a sports fan? We've heard from Auburn fans, Alabama fans, Braves fans. By the way, the Braves in action right now, top of the second inning, 2 outs, no score, so the Braves aren't losing. Yay. 27-33 coming into play today, and they have lost a lot of games here in the past 20 days. But how about those Colorado Rockies, right? Sweep yesterday, the Marlins. Feeling good about themselves?
Yeah, I will. I'll say this too.
I got Rockies fans. If you're just now joining, Keller, a big Rockies fan, texting the show and saying, "What are we going to bet on the Braves-Rockies series coming up?" That's next weekend. That's when you know it's bad.
What happens if y'all lose that series? Is that the nail in the coffin?
As far as
I already know at this point you're probably kind of there already, but would that really be the official stamp of, all right, this season's just this is a wash?
This is where I am, and this was before you guys, but I started going to Braves games in the 80s when they were terrible.
Yeah.
And we got great seats. I watched them. I watched them on Superstation WTBS. I went to Fulton County Stadium. We made a weekend out of it. That was our vacation a lot of years. So I was used to the Braves being bad, and I still watched. So I will not give up on this team. I'll still listen. I'll still watch.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not going to boo them when I go to the stands. If you choose to boo, that's your right. You paid for the ticket. You want to do that. It's just not something that I choose to do. But nail in the coffin, I hate to say that I'm almost already there.
Yeah.
But body language, if these guys, and you could just tell, you know it when you see it.
It's one thing if they're trying and it's just not working out. It's another thing to have these struggles and not look like you care.
It really aggravates me. It aggravates me to no end when you're in a slump like this, and I'm looking in the 8th inning and I'm still seeing guys cutting up. It aggravates me. Maybe it doesn't you as a fan.
No, that would aggravate me.
But why does it at least feel like it frustrates me more than you, and you're making millions of dollars to play a game that you love?
Maybe that's why, because at the end of the day, those checks are still hitting the bank account.
I think that's the frustration with college football fans, a lot of them these days.
Yes.
And the kid that's got the $3 million and he's either pouting by himself on the sideline, on the bench after he throws a pick six, or he's standing away from his team, or in the waning moments of the game that you're getting drilled, he's smiling and he's cutting up with another guy there. That bothers me.
No, and as it should, and that ultimately, I think, probably ties into a lot of the frustrations around Snitker of, all right, well, this is kind of your job to make sure that these guys are, look, regardless of what the product is on the field, look like you give a damn when you're out there on the field and find a way to motivate these guys and light a little bit of a fire under them.
Well,
I guess that's just not
in Snitker's
happening.
defense, Snitker has not changed his approach, his demeanor, but now it's when you really need answers and it feels like you have no other options, you want it to come from the top.
Yeah.
And at least somebody to light that spark and get that giddy up and get those fannies moving. I don't know if that's the personality. Snitker might be tired. He might be frustrated. There might have been moves that he wanted Alex Anthopoulos to make in the offseason that weren't made, and he's kind of sitting there like, well, this is the hand that we're dealt. But something has certainly got to change.
Maybe it's Freddie.
And Freddie?
Maybe that's the spark.
Freddie Gonzalez?
Hey, you look out there, you see him standing next to third base, and you go, that's a guy. I want to go see him on third base.
Tuiasa Sopo. There was now this is the official word coming out of the Braves. I don't know if they've actually put out a statement, but those insiders saying that the reason that he was taken off a third and reassigned to infield coordinator or whatever he is that he's just questionable decisions and sending guys when he shouldn't have and holding guys when he shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Bottom of the second, Braves coming to bat, no score in that game. Keep you updated. How about our friends at Dobbs Ford? Dobbs Ford right there on Parkway East in Birmingham. Joey and Rachel Goshen, wonderful people. I don't think they're Braves fans, but who knows? Maybe they will be. Maybe they'll feel sorry for them. They're good people. They're salt of the earth, and the entire staff there at Dobbs. It's Alabama's largest showroom selection. Right now, you're going to pay what the Ford employees pay on select makes and models. 90 days until your first payment. Just wonderful folks, and whether it's my little sister or just great Jocks listeners who have said, Landrum, thank you for sending me out there. You weren't lying. No, I wouldn't tell you that. You would figure it out pretty quick if you weren't taken care of and you got that first-class experience. Dobbs Ford, right there on Parkway East, DobbsFordBirmingham.com, DobbsFordBirmingham.com. When you get out there, ask for Rachel, ask for Joey, ask for Austin, any of the great team members there at Dobbs, and make sure you tell them Landrum from Three Man Front and Jocks 94.5 sent you. We'll continue with your text on most frustrating season you've endured as a sports fan. Our buddy Steve from Tuscaloosa, who's also a big Braves fan, chiming in as well. We will refresh the screen. Real time.
Too many texts coming in.
Very untimely.
I thought you were trying to clean it up.
No. And sometimes you have to clean it up. Steve is always been really tame. But
I was about to say, we know the ones that you have to look out for now and then. And they are generally very funny texts.
They are. We read them all. So if you're going to take the time to text the show, we're going to read them all. Some of them we can't put on the air. Steve from Tuscaloosa, the most frustrated season Mike DeBose's Alabama football, 1997. It started out so promising with a 42-17 win over Houston. Season ended 4-7 with losses to Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, Louisiana Tech, LSU, Mississippi State, and Auburn. 1997. Just be glad, Conrad, you weren't there to endure it.
No, I know. And that's why, as I said at the beginning about 2000 Alabama, that's going to be a popular pick for people. Thankfully, I was 4. So I was worried about other things like, not eating peanuts.
Not eating peanuts.
Yeah.
When is my next snack?
That's right. When's nap time?
What does that smell? Why are there flies around now? I'm kidding. Is Pat chiming in? 85 Cardinals, the pain. No, this is not Pat, but another Cardinals fan. And we have heard about that pain a lot.
Yep. That's a good one.
All the 90s and now with the Braves, says one of our listeners.
Okay. All the 90s and now.
Wait a minute. 95, we did win it. We beat the Cleveland Indians. That was fun. But I'll agree with that for the most part. Kyle says, most frustrating season, 2016 Alabama. Their defense was elite, all caps, that year. They had again, on the fly. Went undefeated the regular season. 1 second left on the clock in the championship game against Clemson. Deshaun Watson threw a touchdown on the last play of the game for the walk-off touchdown. And Natty, devastating to see all the Alabama had accomplished that year just to see them lose it in the very last second.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say 2016 Alabama?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, when Jalen Hurts ran that touchdown in, it's like, man, all right, yeah, there's no way that this can go south. But one pig play later from one Hunter Renfrow, and here we are.
Allen says 2015 Carolina Panthers being the best team in the NFL all year, and Cam throws up on himself. Very frustrating. That was the year they played the Broncos, right?
Yes, and that was the year that the Broncos were, granted, defensively very good, but that was the last year of Peyton Manning's career when he was terrible, and Brock Osweiler had to come in and start some games. And, yeah, Cam Newton was really bad. That was the game where he fumbled it, and he didn't jump on the ball, and everybody was going out and criticizing him because he didn't seem like he was trying very hard.
I love this. Ed from Oxford, Mississippi. Most disappointing season, where to start? Hotty damn toddy, we are Ole Miss. Very fair.
I think there's...
You want to go back to Eli Manning and David Cutcliffe, those days?
Yep.
Where do I mean?
The amount of
last
times
year
that I was about to say last year would certainly be up there just because you did have the expectations of making the college football playoff. I'm trying to remember what year it was where there were just a couple of years where you had them where they were up there in the top 5 during the season. And they had good seasons, right, under Hugh Freeze, where you'd go and win 9 games or things like that. But you had the expectations, the back-to-back years you beat Alabama, and you were never able to really capitalize on that.
We'll ask Rob Pate. He's going to join us talking Auburn, different stuff. We'll ask him. Most frustrating season he can remember, had to endure not only as a player, but also as an Auburn fan. Much more on the way. 3-man front, Jocks 94.5. 11:46, three-man front. Landrum, Conrad, and Molly. Little survivor. Rob Pate, he's a survivor. He's also an entrepreneur, and they call him the king of frozen yogurt there in Lee County. He joins us now. Hey, Rob, how are you?
Hey, guys, I'm doing good. How about you? That makes me laugh every time you say it.
Well, you've had I'm making light of it, but it's really not. It's true. You've launched the Sweet Frog franchise, and you're killing it. Have you thought any more about the mobile truck? Are we there yet, or are you still kind of taking it easy for the summer?
We're still no. That's definitely not a this year thing. If anything, we had somebody ask what it would look like to cater their wedding, and so that's a little beyond what we're capable of doing unless we had a truck. And so, yeah, we're kind of thinking about it, but we'll see. One step at a time. It's we're just now getting our bearings and being able to come up from underwater. So I don't want to jump off a cliff again.
I do want to ask you, you're there in the Auburn area. What they've done to Plainsman Park, truly incredible. And the fans, they've been showing up all season. This is a special team, and you just asked head coach Butch Thompson. But you got Coastal Carolina rolling in. Describe the job that he's done. What a flip of the roster, and a tale of two seasons. But what that has meant to the Auburn community.
Well, I mean, anytime you have a winner and a team you can walk out there and be proud of because of the product they're putting on the field, Auburn people are super excited about that. And it's easy to love Coach Thompson because of the type of person he is, and really that entire coaching staff. I mean, if you get an opportunity to spend time around them, you can see why guys would enjoy playing for them. They're just level-headed, salt of the earth type people, and I'm extremely excited for the success that Coach Thompson's had because he's just a good man. And, of course, Gabe Gross was one of my teammates at Auburn, played baseball when I was here, was our quarterback a year. So I've known him for a long, long time, and, same type of guy. I think that it's kind of like basketball. Auburn had to kind of push all their chips into the table and say, look, we're ready to compete. Both Alabama and Auburn, everybody knows baseball rules and the scholarship limitations and the, lack of the lottery and kind of what they were up against. So NIL was an equalizer for them, but Auburn didn't fully take advantage of it when they first had the opportunities. And I think they're just now having enough people step up to the plate to give Coach Thompson the resources that he needs to be able to be competitive. And you can see that he's just got a great mix of, not a ton of superstars. I think Ike Irish would be the guy that you'd point to that say, hey, that guy's a stud. But the rest of them, it's some seniors in the right positions and that leadership, but then some really, really good young players that probably would not be wearing an Auburn uniform just a few years prior if we didn't get our NIL game where it needed to be. So, I'm grateful for that, and those guys have a great opportunity. I'm a little sad because they had the chance to host East Carolina, and y'all know our draw there with our daughter plays volleyball. So I thought ECU, they eliminated Florida, but just couldn't get it done against Coastal. And ECU had almost a losing record. The only way they were going to make the tournament was to win their conference, and they did that. So they went on a run there at the end and almost made it to the Supers in Auburn. That would have been special for the Pate family.
It would have been special, but there's no doubt. I mean, I realize your daughter and playing volleyball there, but you would be pulling for Auburn, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's just an opportunity to highlight to the people at East Carolina the supremacy of Auburn over their program. And so we just
there you go.
Needed that opportunity to be able to showcase that, and we don't get that now.
So if Auburn makes it to Omaha, are you going to have the capabilities? I don't know if you're familiar, Rob, but there's a bar in Omaha. They do a Jello shot challenge every year for the Roccos. Thank you, Molly, for the College World Series. Can Sweet Frog do a deal like that? And you just get people to come in. And now, granted, it would be a heavy Auburn lean, but they can come in and you could do special flavors maybe for all of the SEC teams. They're in Omaha.
I wish we could. I mean, I don't know if Omaha has a Sweet Frog. I don't think that there's many Sweet Frogs west of the Mississippi. I don't think there's any past Texas. So it's definitely an East Coast flavor franchise. But yes, I think Omaha needs to learn more about it. And if we could offer our assistance in any way, that maybe somebody wanted to send us out there just to see what.
Yeah.
Then
We could do like a
that.
pop-up, just a.
Listen, man,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I've always wanted to go to, and I've never been able to.
Me too.
I mean, I would love to take my boys. I would love to go with my dad. I just like college baseball, and I think that tournament is special, and that city is a great place where they put it on, and I would like to experience that at some point.
So, and I kind of wanted to follow up on that, Rob, just with the success of baseball, and now they're going to hosting super regionals, hopefully going to make it on to Omaha and potentially even bring home a title. We know the basketball team made a Final Four. So you put a little more pressure on the football program. But if Auburn football is able to meet expectations this fall, and let's just say go and win 8 or 9 games at least under Hugh Freeze, I mean, is it safe to say this is the best year of Auburn athletics in recent memory with all the success outside of football? And then if that football product is able to come back kind of and be on par, I have to feel like that would be a very exciting time for Auburn fans all around.
Yeah, it would be up there. I mean, it would be up there with the, there's a lot of people in town that went to school at Auburn in the late 80s, early 90s when Auburn football, Auburn baseball, Hal Baird was doing good things. Pat Dye was winning SEC championships, and basketball was making a name for itself and having some success. That I think those people have an Auburn experience that few others do. And I know, for instance, my daughter, my oldest daughter, finished at Auburn. Well, she was here for the end of Malzahn's era and all of Harson's era, and it's like, man, you feel cheated. So to be able to have winning programs in your big sports, I mean, it's special for the students and it's special for the community. So yeah, I mean, it would be fantastic to be able to have that, hang your hat on it. But Auburn football, I think, has more question marks than any of the other three. I think they've got the people and the personnel in place to take the next step. It's just that every team you play does too, and things just have to fall the right way. And you got to develop a winning mentality, and we haven't gotten over that hump yet.
Rob, I do want to ask you, because this is a conversation we had. It was about my Braves and just how frustrated I am with the way that they played this season, how it's all gone. What about as an Auburn fan, not as a player, but as a fan? What's the most frustrating season that you've had to endure?
Yeah, Molly said that y'all were talking about that, and it's easy. As soon as she said it, it was 2012. The 2012 Auburn team, I thought that was the only team I've ever witnessed that quit in the middle of the season. And they quit in the second half against Texas A&M, and that was probably the most embarrassing game I've ever witnessed. I mean, Auburn, we've had our share of games that you would wish that never existed, and I played in some of those. But as a fan, watching that 2012 team, get run through like something Coach Saban would have to say that I probably can't say on the radio.
Please don't.
It was pathetic, and I did. I thought that team quit, and even had some coaches that called me and were like, hey, listen, we need less of that type of commentary coming from you in different places. But I couldn't defend it. And that made what Coach Malzahn did in 2013 all that much more unbelievable, unfathomable, because that 2012 team was a disaster. Lost at Vandy, and that was before Vandy was competitive, and just not competitive at all, and losers of, I think they went 3-8, 3-9 that season. So 2012 easily takes the cake for me.
Yeah, I think one of the only games they won, it was UT Martin. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it was dreadful. But you know what? James Franklin says thank you, because he got a nice cushy job there in Happy Valley.
Hey, man, it's all about coming along at just the right time, and he had Auburn on at the schedule at just the right time.
Dr. Pate, we always appreciate the time. Enjoy the baseball this weekend. Hopefully for Auburn fans, they come out victorious, and maybe you start thinking about a trip to Omaha.
That would be fantastic. I hope so. But we'll see. Hope they get it done, guys. War Eagle, though.
Thank you, Rob. Rob Pate joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham's your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. Coach Skip Holtz, giddy up. Stallions trying to do it again. Back to back to back to back. He joins us next on Three Man Front. $12 o'clock, the Thursday edition of Three Man Front. Landrum Roberts, Conrad Van Order, Molly Robinson, Pat Smith back with us on Monday. Update from Truist. Braves leading the Diamondbacks 1-0 as they play in the bottom of the third with a runner on first. We'll keep you updated on that. Got other day baseball going on. The Cardinals, they were rained out yesterday with the Royals to play a doubleheader as a part of that. You got the Tigers playing the White Sox later on, Molly. And who do your Yankees have? Are they off today? No, they're playing.
No, we are playing the Guardians.
Okay.
So lost 4-0 last night.
We called them the Indians back in our day.
Yeah, no. I'm trying to be politically correct. Wimp would not appreciate it.
No. Skip Holtz, head football coach of the Birmingham Stallions, joining us now. Giddy up, Coach. How are you?
Well, giddy up, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
We're doing great. I kind of wanted to frame it as a revenge game, and you downplayed it. But, man, it looked like you guys were really hacked off against Memphis. What a performance. Let's start with Tay Crowder and the defense. How about that?
No, how exciting. We hadn't scored a touchdown all year and scored 2 of them in one game. And they weren't just, it wasn't like just scooping up a fumble and falling 2 yards into the end zone. They were big plays, and they were huge momentum plays. To get the one early, we had went down and scored a touchdown, and then to score on defense, and you're up 13-0 right out of the chute. So it certainly kind of set the momentum for the day. And then I felt like once we got out in front, I thought these guys really, for a game that, quote, quote, didn't mean anything, I thought they showed up. They played hard. They looked like they were having fun. It was fun to be part of it. It was an exciting way to finish the season and gain a little bit of momentum getting into the playoffs here.
So one thing that really impressed me, Coach, about the performance against Memphis, you put up a ton of points. The 2 pick sixes were great. But the offensive line, you didn't give up a single sack, did a really nice job protecting Jamar and Peasley when he got to come in there in the second half. Just what can you speak to about this offensive line really rounding into form heading into the postseason?
Yeah, it's been great because I believe, if I'm saying this correctly, I believe it was the same starting lineup 2 weeks in a row going all the way back to week 2. And I think this week is the first week getting AT back that we've had 8 offensive linemen for practice since week 2. So, it has been, as much as we've talked about the quarterback, DeLauro's missed time at tackle, Snyder's missed time at center, Taylor's missed time at tackle. We had Simmons has gone out on IR, Jones has gone out on IR. So we've had a lot of moving pieces there on the offensive line, but it's given guys like Barry Wesley, who's been an inside player for us early in the season, went out and played tackle, and I thought did a great job for us out at tackle. These guys they're getting better, they're developing, they're feeling comfortable in the offense, the calls, they're playing fast. But no, I thought that was huge. They gave the quarterback a lot of time back there, and they were able. I thought the receivers made some really nice plays. Offensively, I thought we executed was what we did. Was we really just, as I always use the expression, pick the ball up and throw it to first base. Let's make the routine play. They did that. The quarterbacks took what the defense gave them, didn't put the ball in jeopardy. It was the first game all year we did not have a turnover, which is something that I've been striving for here since about the 3rd game of the year, that we did a better job of protecting the ball. But I thought there were a lot of bright spots on both sides of the ball and in the special teams as well.
What can you attribute to maybe the evolution of this team? Because there were some frustrating times there in the early part of the season, Coach, and you had the inconsistencies because of injuries, especially at the quarterback position, the offensive line, just nothing seemed to be gelling. Have you had time to kind of look back on the regular season and say, aha, that was the turning point for your team?
No, I don't know that it was so much a turning point as much as it's been being able to get some stability, being able to get some consistency. I feel like the movie 50 First Dates. It seems like every week you go out there and you got a new team. You got a new guy at tackle. You got a new guy at quarterback. You got new players that are out there that are playing major roles for you. Maybe they were backups, but now they're playing major roles for you. And so, like I said, it was just hard to get any stability. It was hard to get any consistency as a football team. I thought our defense played really well in the early periods and kind of pulled us through some of the hard times we were having offensively. But, when you have Alex Magoo played 1 game, then Matt played 3, felt like really starting to play well. Then he got injured. Then Case Cookus went in. First game was Memphis, which was the 5th game of the year, and that's his preseason game. And then he started playing well. Then he got hurt. We had brought Jamar in. Andrew Peasley got hurt. then Jamar now has had the opportunity to play 3 games and is really playing well. So the thing that's kind of fun about it now, I mean, it's good and bad because you get Matt Corral back, and you've got Jamar's played, Matt's played, Peasley's now played, Case has played. You've got same thing we were talking on the offensive line. You know, you got a Barry Wesley who's been in the starting role for us. And now with AT back and getting relatively healthy, you just feel like you have more depth and you could play a lot of guys. So I don't know that there was probably the turning point really has been the last couple games of the year when you feel like you're getting a little bit more stability and consistency on the offensive side. And as I said, defensively, you know, we've been relatively healthy with the D tackles, with the linebackers, with the safeties. So we've kind of really gotten some consistency there, and some guys are feeling really comfortable. And I use the analogy that the guys, when you first start, you're starting with 2 + 2 is 4. I mean, but now once you get into game 4, game 5, game 7, game 8, you start to get into the multiplication, the division, the square root of, you know, it gets more, they get more comfortable with the basics. And I'm not talking about just as a team, but as the individual. So you've got, with this team, the frustration has been you've got some guys that are at the beginning level and some guys are at the advanced level when you get into game 7, because for some of these players, it was their first start. And so that was the frustration, but I feel like the last 2 weeks we're starting to get some guys healthy and some guys are gaining some experience. And really, ultimately, that's what you play the regular season for, is this opportunity that we're getting this weekend.
So, Coach, you're talking about consistency, and I think someone that exemplifies that very well for the Stallions, especially this season, is Deon Cain, your star wide receiver. I know he was just named All-UFL a couple of days ago. He's a guy who's been around a couple of stints now with the Stallions, but really been that reliable playmaker for you guys. So what can you say kind of just about the growth that you've seen from him, not only this season, but in his couple stints there in Birmingham? And is this a guy that, you know, we might be talking about on Sundays next year?
Yeah, he's had a couple really good years for us, and he's had his off seasons or his falls. He's been in some NFL camps, and he's been on some practice squads, and I think he's just waiting for his opportunity in the NFL. But, you know, really kudos to him here's a guy that came in and had a good year for us. He was the MVP of the championship game a couple years ago. But you know what? He keeps getting better. I mean, it's not. Some people kind of get, okay, well, I'm not getting my opportunity in the NFL, and they start going through the motions. I think he's a guy that's really taken it to a whole nother level. Really proud of the growth that he's had as a football player. He knows what he's doing. He's very intelligent. He's got a really good feel on it. And I think Deon's playing really well. I think we've got, you know, the reason that I don't think Davion Davis or Amari Rodgers made the team is because they don't have the numbers. But when you look at those two guys together, they're being really stable for us and doing a really nice job. I think Jalen Camp is getting better. Cade Johnson's getting better. We're starting to create a little bit more depth there. But Deon is definitely leading that class right now as he's really taking it to another level. But I feel really solid about the growth of our wide receivers and the development that we've had through the course of this season as we get ready for the playoffs.
Birmingham Stallions head coach Skip Holtz joining us here on Three Man Front. The Stallions playing for another conference championship as they will host the Panthers on Sunday, 2 o'clock, Protective Stadium. We'll tell you about some of the ticket specials that they have as we progress. Coach, this Michigan Panthers team, no stranger to you guys. This will be the third matchup, which is always a whole lot of fun to talk about. But from the Michigan perspective, the quarterback position, Bryce Perkins, we know that he can be electric at times, had the injury this year. What does that look like? What is the expectation for you guys defensively and what you're going to face?
Well, I would expect him. You got to expect him to play. I mean, I'm sure he's done whatever he's had to do the last 3 weeks as they have held him out to be able to get healthy. You know, he was activated a week ago but didn't play. I think they're just letting him get to full strength. But, I mean, obviously he's had a dynamic year. He's a dynamic player. He's not only really good in throwing the ball, but he is a weapon running. You got to corral him. You got to try and find a way to get him on the ground. But breaking tackles and making yards with his feet is where he really has had the ability to extend some plays. So great player. Like I said, he was the all-conference quarterback. He was the all-UFL quarterback this season and put up really some gaudy numbers, but a really talented player. Michigan has been scoring a lot of points this year. They're one of the leading offensive teams in our league. and they've got one of the best run defenses in the league as well. So I think when you look at them, they're not a one-headed monster. They're not just scoring points. They're playing really well on both sides of the ball, and we've had a couple really battles with them, in the two games that we've played so far. And we won 2 weeks ago, 26-22, in a great game that ended up on the goal line where our defense had to stop. But it's got all the makings to be a classic. I think you got two really good football teams that are going head-to-head that are very familiar with each other from a personnel, from a scheme standpoint. And I don't think this is going to be a game that the game is going to be reinvented from an offensive or defensive scheme standpoint. I think it's going to be the team that goes out and plays the best together as a team.
So, and this is something that we talk about, Coach, and I'm sure you're aware of it, but you probably don't talk about it a ton in the locker room, but maybe I'm wrong. And that is the fact that you're undefeated all time against the Michigan Panthers. Is that something that do y'all let that creep into the locker room a little bit before a game like this? Or is that something that you just kind of completely try to avoid? And maybe you see it on social media or people like us talk about it, but that's just, the last thing in your mind going into the postseason.
Yeah, it'll be the previous games don't have anything to do with this one. This is just like, the first time we played and we beat him, Matt Corral was the quarterback. This last time Jamar was. It's you're going to have Bryce Perkins, who's been healthy, who's been out for a little bit. I think every game takes on its own, and I don't think we're not going to be able to just roll up the football and say, look, we've got the Stallions helmet, they got the Michigan helmet, so we're going to win. It's still going to come down to a game of execution and where our focus is and our attitude is, and it's going to take a champion effort to go out and win a game like this. And so we've been fortunate that we've been able to go out and play a really focused football game and make one more play than they do. They've all been close. You've got two really good football teams and that are going to battle with an awful lot on the line. And so I think that you're going to see it's going to be a dogfight. And we realize that and understand that. And the previous games and the records and everything in the past we don't get to start 6-0 because of our past. This game's going to start 0-0 with 60 minutes on the clock, and it's going to be the team that plays the best and makes the most plays and does the best job of following the plan and protecting the ball and being good on third down and what you do in the red zone. But I think it's going to be, we've just got to take a mindset that we got to try and find a way to go 1-0. We got to go find a way to win one game.
Coach, I am interested. Some coaches will downplay it and say, no, we're just going to keep everything the same. No special interest. Let's just go 1-0 this week. And I understand that's all well and good. But what's on the line here is another championship and another chance to compete for another world title. Do you do anything different as a head coach? Do you have a great pregame speech that's planned for your guys?
No, we'll have I talk to them every game before the game, and where we are and what this game means and where we are in the season and the growth and the development, which is what the 10 weeks was about. But now you're into the playoffs, it's a little bit different. Yeah, there's more on the line. This is win or go home. This is the stakes are higher, but what you can't do is you have to dance with the date you brought. We've got our football team, and we've got to go play together as a team. And the same way that we won last week is how you have to win this week. And so I think we always talk about the game's about us. It's about the way we focus and our intangibles and our intensity and passion. And you've got to win. It's an old cliche, but you talk about, to win a game, you got to win the half, you got to win the quarter, you got to win the series, and you got to win the play. And so you just go down. You got to go one step at a time. But if you sit here and say, okay, we got to do something special, I think you got to dance with the date you brought. You got to let your players go play with some confidence and be able to play fast and not be overly complicated or thinking too much, and let them go put their best foot forward. I go back to Joe Montana, who was one of the biggest pressure quarterbacks in the NFL, and he used to talk about the bigger the moment, the more you just focused on the fundamentals on that play. What's important on this play, because that's what you have to do. If you get involved in the circus that's going on the outside, or the weight of the game, or what's at stake, and all those other things, it's taking your focus away from where it ought to be on what you have to do on this play to be successful.
Well, me and Conrad will be there. I believe Molly and Pat are planning on going there as well. Me and Conrad will be there on Sunday and sitting next to one another. We can promise you that we will keep our shirts on, but we will be cheering and yelling the loudest. So rest assured, Coach, you're not going to see these two pasty white guys up in the stands to distract.
Yeah, just make sure Molly's not in the end zone.
That's right, Molly. No, I think they already have. They do have a female that's up there,
yeah,
right?
she has the coconut bra, right? Something like that.
Sure.
Coach, you won't have to worry about me, I promise.
Yeah, I do love the passion of our fans, and everybody in the end zone, and you got the horsemen. I'm telling you, we went out and played last week in Memphis, and our fans made more noise than the Memphis fans. I mean, they were great. I mean, and we have a great passionate group of people that follow us. I just want to see it continue to grow. I just want to see it continue to grow to create that home field advantage. I know we've had some tough games this year on Mother's Day early on a Sunday and some things like that, but I just want to see that group continue to grow, to continue to create that home field advantage. These players have worked hard to have that opportunity here for the playoffs going into this game. But like I said, we're really excited about not only playing in the playoffs, but we're really excited about having the opportunity to play one more home game in Birmingham.
And we're excited to watch, and we're so proud of the job that you and the Stallions have done, Coach. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Let's go 1-0 this week. Let's win another conference championship and play for it all.
That's what it's about. Giddy up. I appreciate it, guys. Always good to be with you.
Giddy up, Coach. Thank you. Coach Skip Holtz, Stallions on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. We continue the discussion. We'll also update you on what's going on.
You got a big fat grin on your face, don't you?
Am I smiling?
Yeah, just so you're glowing.
I'm trying to suppress it. It's early. Not there yet. We'll describe what we're talking about next. 3-minute run. 12:21, just as I say it, it comes into existence. Conrad trying to bait me into being overly exuberant and excited. Maybe that's an oxymoron. About the Braves, they jumped out to a 6-0 lead. And then promptly, as they play in the top of the fourth inning, the Diamondbacks have scratched across for 3 runs. 6-3, runner on first for the Diamondbacks with nobody out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to set you up like that. I didn't think it was going to go downhill that quickly.
That's how it goes. That's how it's been going there, Yankees fan.
I know. You still got 3. You got a 3-run lead, so hopefully you're able to get out of here with no more damage done. But certainly good to see back-to-back doubles. You talked about. I know we were talking in the break. Albie's one of those guys. So maybe this is, need a day like this to get the bats warmed up a little bit.
Maybe so. We'll keep you updated on that. A lot of texts rolling in, and it was a conversation that started in the early part of the show talking about the Braves and just my frustration as a fan. We got a lot of you as listeners that are Braves fans that are voicing your frustration. But the question is, most frustrating season you've endured as a fan. It could be Major League Baseball. You want to go NBA. Anywhere you want to go. Whatever team that season just sticks out. And we've heard it on both ends of the spectrum. We were projected to be really good, and we were terrible. Or we were really, really good, but we never got a shot to play for a title. Or we were really, really good, and we had our heart ripped out and stomped on and burned on the final play of the season.
Yep, like 2016 Alabama.
2016 Alabama. Or the final game of the season. Kelvin Benjamin, Auburn fans. Trey Mason, he scored too fast. Remember all of that. So put that one on, guys.
Yeah, you can put, well, I was about saying if Kelvin Benjamin was, I don't know.
Turning point of that game was the fake punt. Turning point of the game was the fake punt. Yeah. And you knew it was coming and you couldn't get the stop.
Yeah, that was a heck of a football game, though.
Yeah. 205-834-9450. A lot of your texts that we will get to. Also on the phone lines, 800-239-WJOX. Our buddy Dave, who's a big Braves fan. He's in Hoover. Hey, Dave.
Hey, guys. Yeah, let me just remind you all. And, growing up in Atlanta, I was in 1966. I was 5 years old in the inaugural game. I was there in 69 near the Amazing Mets. Had season tickets to Turner Field, 101L, 4 seats, split the point home plate. But the Braves are the Bobby Cox, John Schuerholz, the way of playing baseball, which is gappers, home runs. They play for crooked numbers every inning. They don't manufacture runs. They don't move people over. And what you got to remember is the year they won the World Series 4 years ago, they made some great moves at trade deadline. And they got Rosario came in, Soler came in, Jock Peterson came in, and they caught lightning in a bottle. And a lot of their players had career years. Okay, but now let's think about this. During the regular season, depending on how a rotation falls, say the Phillies come to town, you may, depending on how their rotation falls, you may not even see the good team's ace because he may have pitched on the road before they got to your place, right?
Yep.
So you end up beating up on a lot of bad teams. You beat some good teams when you don't face your ace. But I remember the year when Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling were with the Diamondbacks. I was out there. They faced Randy Johnson game 1, Kurt Schilling game 2. And then game 3 was day 3 was travel day. You get back to Atlanta. The number 3 guy goes, and then you got Schilling and Johnson all over again. So that's who the Braves are. They play for crooked numbers. Bobby Cox was a bad manager. 15 consecutive division titles and 1 World Series. He had more Hall of Famers on that roster during that run than the Baltimore Orioles did during their heyday, the Cincinnati Reds during their heyday, New York Yankees did during their heyday. And that's just unacceptable. But that's who they are.
Do you want to see a change at the top? You want Snooker gone?
I think everybody. Well, I like Alex, the GM. You know, I mean, but I do not like Snitker. I don't like seeing a manager make a pitching change on 2-0 count on a hitter. I don't like the way he plays. I don't like the way he manages. I don't like the way he handles the staff. I just don't like it. You know, he brings in the guy Marino. He gets lit up, and then he brings in Pierce Johnson. Well, Pierce Johnson went 26 consecutive innings without giving up a hit, right?
Yeah.
And then he brings him in. I'm like, well, why didn't you bring him in the first place? You had a 4-run lead. I thought you didn't bring him in because he wasn't available. Oh, but he was available because now you brought him in, but the game's over with. Why are you bringing him in now in the 9th inning when you're down a run? I just don't like the way the game manages. I just think it's time for a change.
If I'm asking you for a hot board of Braves managers, who would be at the top to replace him?
I have no clue.
Ron Washington, bring him back. Bring back Wash. He's got a potty mouth, but the guys play for him.
Good point. And you know what? They haven't been the same since he's been gone.
You're exactly right.
Yep. All right, guys.
Thank you, Dave. Go Braves. Chop on for the A. Whatever
I think
we're
that would
saying
be,
these days.
I think that would be, and no pun intended, I think that would be an absolute home run. I know we've talked about it the last couple of days, but
Yeah. Angels don't appreciate Wash.
he's a heck of a man. I mean, the fact that he has the Angels where they are right now, again, I don't think they're going to make the postseason, but the fact they're even a factor in that conversation right now, yeah, that's a, a testament to Ron Washington's job. And, like you said, he's a little more of the no nonsense. He's a little more of a hard ass, but maybe that's what you need. And, y'all were just talking about it. He certainly made a big impact when he was on that staff in Atlanta. And it hasn't been the same ever since. I love Ron Washington. I would run through a brick wall for him.
Man, it was somebody that was telling me a story, and they were talking about, oh gosh, who was it? It was a middle infielder, and they had moved this guy, whatever, and they said, oh, this guy, he's a miracle, and Washington in very colorful language said, yeah, I might be good, but I'm not a blankety blank blank blank. It was just. Yeah, he is.
He has a way with words.
Yeah, it's never a dull moment with him.
No, absolutely not. And like you said, I mean, the post-game press conferences, for one thing, would be very, very entertaining, and you would probably be getting some more answers right now.
But the way that he coaches, players certainly respect him.
Mm-hmm.
He can rule with an iron fist, but also they know that he's coming from a good place.
Yeah.
So that would be my vote right now.
Yeah, I certainly don't think you could go wrong with that. I do wonder what his situation is, because is this his first year?
No, second.
And
it was a 2-year deal.
Okay, so he would be, I guess, a free agent if he wanted to be at the end of this season.
Yeah,
that'd be very interesting.
Let's do a manager. Let's do a trade. Involve him in a trade. We'll send Iglesias back to the Angels and send Ron Washington
and Mike Trout
to
Atlanta, just to sweeten the pot.
Well, we got him back for a month, and he's playing good baseball. Trout is.
He is playing good baseball. That's absolutely right.
The most frustrating season you've had to endure as a fan. We'll get to more of your texts. Your phone calls are welcome as well. 205-834-9450. 12:32, three-man front. Molly, Conrad, and Landrum. Thanks for being with us. Skip Holtz joining us at the beginning of the hour. Rob Pate and Rodney Orr in the last hour. Any portion of the show every single day. Any guest interviews, segments, you can find them there at the Three-Man Front podcast at jocksfm.com.
Yeah, so some interesting, I guess this is good news. If you're an Auburn fan and you're somebody that wants to go and attend the Super Regionals this weekend, me and Landrum were talking about this in the break. So Rhett Hobart, who is the Deputy AD for External Affairs there at Auburn, he just posted this on social media a few moments ago. And it says, introducing the right field rooftop new general admission opportunity at Plainsman Park. And so it looks like they're going to have an additional seating area out in right field or out behind right field where you will be able to purchase general admission tickets. And he responded to that comment. Somebody said, well, we're going to need a railing there. And he says they are working on putting up the railing. So
wow,
potentially more opportunities if you want to go down to Auburn and catch the Super Regionals this weekend. You can go watch from a elevated viewing in right field, maybe catch a home run ball.
Yeah, and without doing a major expansion, and I know that they did a lot of upgrades, and it's a beautiful park, and they built something that they can be proud of, and you can be on par with a lot of the other great venues we see throughout the Southeastern Conference, most notably. But having 7,500 to 8,000 fans there for a super regional should be a special time. And for folks that I had people calling me yesterday saying, hey, I can't find tickets. Do you know where I can get tickets? And I said, no, I don't, unless you know somebody. So apparently there's going to be some opportunities for extra folks. But they've utilized about everything around there, from the parking deck to seats on top of the Green Monster to other things that they put, extending seats down the lines. Suite areas, but that should be a fun time. The FanDuel Sportsbook College World Series winner odds are out.
Okay.
Right now, LSU comes in with the best odds, according to FanDuel, at plus 310. They're followed by Arkansas at plus 380. Arkansas's opponent this weekend in the Super Regional, the Tennessee Volunteers, are third, with the third best odds to win it all at plus 650. North Carolina comes in fourth at plus 650. Florida State, there you go, FSU Dave, at plus 1,200. And that pitcher who Chipper Jones took exception to.
Yes.
Oregon State at plus 1,300. Auburn at plus 1,400. And then right behind Auburn, you got Coastal Carolina at plus 1,600. Duke, UCLA, Louisville, UTSA, Miami, Arizona, West Virginia, Murray State, rounding out the Sweet 16, if you will.
Yeah, so there you go. The three top odds, all there reside here in the SEC. Not a big surprise there, and hopefully we're able to bring home the crown. And who knows, maybe it'll be Auburn bringing it back for the SEC later this season. Yeah, I don't know if you saw. You brought up Chipper Jones. He was kind of kept at it yesterday on social media. If you were following along, because we told you yesterday he had taken some exception to what we saw over the weekend.
Well, he was trying to be vague and not call out individual programs.
Correct. And then he ended up biting the bullet and just calling out Florida's head coach for his shenanigans over the weekend because it was funny. You know, you had people on Twitter of, we all know who you're talking about. Why don't you just come out and say it? And he said, okay, well, I wasn't going to, but yeah, it was the Florida coach, and I took exception to the way that he handled things.
Also, he said that he was watching a game with a buddy of his that played at Georgia, and they were both commenting on, don't wear your uniform that way. And that was the unbutton down to your belly button type deal.
Yes.
And then the third one was the Florida State pitcher yelling at, who was it that they were playing in their regional?
Let's see. Was it when they were playing Mississippi State?
It was Mississippi State.
Maybe?
Yeah, it sure was.
Yeah. So if you missed it, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is what Chipper Jones put on social media yesterday. He said, quote, a lot of speculation on who I was speaking of in my post last night. So let's get it out of the way. I was disappointed in how Florida coach Sully handled the situation of the time change in the Coastal Carolina region. And then he added, as I sat with my UGA alum friend watching the Dogs in Oklahoma State, the uniforms were a mess. Taunting, bat flipping, bleep talking was above and beyond normal. My friend who played at Georgia agreed. And then an FSU pitcher tells a Mississippi State hitter to sit the blank down. And I believe these to be excessive and unsportsmanlike. I am from Florida. I'm a Gator at heart. I have a ton of respect for SFU. And UGA has become my second favorite because of all my relationships. This isn't personal in any way, shape, or form. but these are the ones that I witnessed.
See, the only problem I have with that, and I know that he said he's a Gator at heart, but calling Kevin O'Sullivan Sully. Don't call him by his nickname. Call him Kevin O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
Nicknames, in my opinion, for those type of nicknames, they're endearing. They're for people that you actually respect. So
maybe
there's one Sully in my mind, and he landed a plane in the Hudson.
Tom Hanks?
Yes.
And Monsters, Inc.
and Monsters.
Sully.
You're right. Yeah, he's the big blue guy.
A coach that does exemplify class, and it's Butch Thompson of the Auburn Tigers.
Yes.
Interesting comments. You think this is a special year for Auburn baseball, and it is. But listen to Butch Thompson talk about this particular team and what it's meant to him.
Anytime a historic program like this that's been playing baseball for a long time does something for the first time, that's a big deal. That's to be celebrated. I just don't want this to end. This is one of my most endearing teams since we've been here. This team is special. And this will be more emotional for me if we don't win the whole thing. We dream, aim high. So I don't ever want this to end with this team. That's why I was disappointed with the SEC tournament, playing one game. I want them. That's 2 or 3 more games that I missed getting to coach and be with this team. So I want this thing to go on, but for it to be here, I think it only stamps and digs deeper how much excitement, how much fun, and how much growth we get to show this growth for 2 consecutive weekends, which is pretty phenomenal as you probably go around town, to have all our sports are so great and talked about. And this is our time. And we've been working hard for a couple of years to get back to feeling something like this. So it's a big deal to me.
There's Butch Thompson, Auburn. They get the late game. They should be used to it. Central time on Friday, tomorrow. You get an 8 o'clock first pitch and the game on ESPN2, televised on ESPN2. Other games in action tomorrow with Super Regional play beginning. Miami taking on Louisville. As part of that Super Regional, 2 o'clock on ESPN2. FSU taking on Oregon State, a 5 o'clock first pitch, and you get Arizona taking on North Carolina, and that is an early start there. Then you got the game Saturday, UTSA, a big surprise, just as Texas fans after they rolled through Austin, taking on UCLA. That is a 6 o'clock first pitch on Saturday. Murray State taking on Duke at noon. West Virginia and LSU at 1. And you get Tennessee and Arkansas. That ought to be fun in Fayetteville at 4 o'clock on Saturday as well.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a great weekend of baseball as we head towards Omaha and all the excitement that goes along with that. But, yeah, hopefully, going to have an opportunity, I guess, for 3 SEC teams because either Arkansas or Tennessee is going to have to win that regional there in Fayetteville. But potential to have 3 SEC teams in Omaha, I think that would be pretty good. Molly, do you remember, is it LSU fans that dominate the Jell-O shots every year?
68,888 is the record.
Whoa. It's a lot of Jell-O.
Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the year that I worked, it was the year that Ole Miss won, and they had set the record back in 22. But then LSU came in a couple years later, or I guess the next year, and just blew that record out of the park.
I was about to say, I want to say Ole Miss, it was like 20,000 or something
If
like that.
Molly, did you do a Jell-O shot?
I did not. I was on the job.
Oh, you were?
Yes.
She's totally
One
lying.
doesn't-
I could tell.
one
I could tell
doesn't
with her reaction right there. She was so quick. She said, "I was on the." You're not always on the job.
But I was there. And Nebraska, it's not like Nebraska was in the College World Series, so I didn't. Which fan base would I give my shot to?
I don't know. That's when you just got to figure that. That's an internal struggle.
It really is.
Who were the teams that were playing?
When I worked?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let me think. It was...
What year was it?
2022. So it was Oklahoma and Ole Miss in the final. I know Arkansas was there. Tennessee wasn't there because Notre Dame beat them in the Supers, I believe. So Notre Dame was there. I think Texas was there too. Maybe Virginia. I can't remember all the teams.
If you would have based it on geography and at that time you being a Nebraska student, then it would have been Notre Dame, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
So I believe you had...
I know for sure it was Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Notre Dame.
Yeah, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Notre Dame, Texas,
Yep.
Texas A&M, Auburn, and Stanford.
Oh, I forgot Stanford. Yeah, that was the year I was there. It was amazing.
That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good list there. But yeah,
I'm serious, and I have said this since I've been able to go to the College World Series. It is truly one of the most fun events that I have ever been to as a fan, covered in the media. If you ever get the chance to go up to Omaha and experience the Charles Schwab, the environment that they kind of turn it into a little, almost like a village, almost kind of around the stadium.
Yeah.
It is incredible.
I've been to Omaha twice, and the fact that neither time was for
during
a
the World
College World
Series.
Series is absolute shame. I'd love to do it, but I want to do it in an RV.
That's the way to do it.
That would be very fun.
I want to do an RV, set up tailgate like we do at the fans do at the Hoover Met for the SEC baseball tournament, and go out there and just make a week of it.
Well, ask Don and Damien if you can borrow theirs.
No thanks. I will procure my own. This one rolling in from Ed in Oxford. Ole Miss was the last team to actually win it. Now you can just call in and buy Jell-O shots over the phone or online, so you don't have to actually be in there in person buying the actual shot.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I did not know that either.
Well, I know.
I just thought, you had like some rich LSU alum that was like,
well, it was
Jell-O
the guy
shots for everyone.
that
Let's buy 10,000.
Canes. I believe he was the one that bought like a ton of them.
You're right, yes.
Now, I don't know how many he bought.
I do remember
but it was
seeing
all,
that.
Yeah, I remember seeing it all over Twitter.
Mm-hmm. You are spot on.
We will get to some more of your texts, including some of the most frustrating seasons you've had to endure as a fan. We'll give you an update from Truist as well, with the Braves and the Diamondbacks playing a little afternoon baseball. It's three-man front and Jocks, 94.5. $12:46, three-man front on this Thursday. Update from Truist. Braves leading the Diamondbacks 6-3. Braves trying to win their first game in months. That's what it's felt like anyways.
Well, technically, have they won in the month of June?
No.
Okay, so there you go. It has been.
I witnessed the May 31st win. The shutout that Swelly on his birthday. Yeah. I've adopted him and Grant Holm.
Good.
Because we took the picture. Me and Dorothy did. We've adopted him as our pseudo children. I tell her that Grant, he has her hair, and Swelly has my personality and athleticism.
Sounds like a match made in heaven right there.
Folks, this is where we are in the Brave season right now. This is where we are. 6-3 as they head to the bottom of the fifth inning. So Grant Holmes able to limit the damage.
Well, let me tell you about Diamonds Direct, because whether you just had a recent graduate in your life or you're even thinking about popping the question, Diamonds Direct is sure to have something for you, whatever your style or your preference might be. They will have you covered. And if not, no worries, because their experts can help you out with a custom design. I went in a couple weeks ago and their showroom is absolutely beautiful. They have thousands of options, so you're sure to find something that you love. And Sasha, my diamond expert, she was actually able to help me find the perfect piece that fit not only my style, but also my budget. So like I said, they have thousands of options, so go check out our friends at Diamonds Direct.
Molly, a lot of drip.
A lot of drip. Iced.
I learned that this weekend.
Drip?
This weekend?
Yeah.
Are you going to start saying it?
He's got drip. No. That was the one time I was going to use it because she did the Diamonds Direct.
They do have a lot of drip.
They do have a lot
of ice.
No, I went and that's where I purchased all of Dorothy's stuff.
It's beautiful.
Oh, really? There you go.
Yeah, engagement ring, 2 wedding bands, because big on symmetry. They'll teach you about that. Cut, color, clarity, and just a great staff. D, Charlie, and all the other fine folks there. Yeah.
Well, there you go. We do have a Jocks or a 3-man front Twitter poll question of the day we want to remind you of. If you want to chime in on that on the Courtesy GMC text line. I know a lot of you talking about the most frustrating seasons as fans, and we're going to get to those in a minute at 205-834-9450. But your question that we asked you today, it's pretty simple. This is not us projecting that these are going to be the 4 best teams in the SEC this year necessarily, but we gave you 4 schools, and we asked you which of these SEC teams will be the first to win another national championship in college football. Your options: Georgia, Auburn, Alabama, and Texas. Right now, Alabama still leading the way, 53% of the vote for the Tide. Texas comes in second. They have 22%. Georgia in third with 15% of the vote, and Auburn in last with 10% of the vote. So a lot of Alabama fans voting very clearly, but the majority of our voters think that Alabama will be the next team out of that group to win another national championship, maybe this year.
Yep. Also, we've been talking about it throughout the show because of the Brave struggles. It's been a frustrating season for me, but we ask you, what's the most frustrating season you've had to endure as a fan? Conrad, you threw out Alabama. What would that have been?
So I threw out last year, but we've had a lot of people rank at 2000 Alabama. I was only 4 years old, but you were number 3 in the preseason poll. You only won 3 games that year. We've had people mention the Kick 6 year of 2013. Somebody mentioned 2016, losing to Clemson on the last second play. There's some good options there.
Molly threw out her Nebraska team that went 3-9.
Yes.
And you say which one?
2021.
Oh, that was the.
Yes. Went 1-8 in the conference and had a point differential of 0.
As a Braves fan, I went there naturally. I have a lot of seasons to choose from, admittedly. Braves fans, you feel me? 2020 would have been for me. It was the pandemic shortened year, but the Braves up on the Dodgers 3-1, and to lose that and see the Dodgers get crowned really, really hurt. But last year hurt too. 2023 hurt. They all hurt. They just hurt in different ways. They cut in different places.
They do, yeah. Because like you're talking about with the Braves, because I brought up the Yankees in 2023. They only won 82 games, and it was the worst record they'd had in over 20 seasons. But then, the year before that, I look at that where we made it to the ALCS, and on my honeymoon, I was lucky enough to get to watch the Yankees get swept by the Astros on my honeymoon. So my wife was very happy about that, and that was frustrating for different reasons, and probably frustrating for my wife as well. Why are you watching this on our honeymoon?
Well, it's because you're a fan.
Yeah, it's important.
You say, hey, babe, get used to this.
You got your day.
Good Lord willing, for the next 50 years, I'm going to be watching this.
I was about to say, you just got your day. Now it's the Yankees' turn. Come on.
You just got your day.
That's right.
What a horrible thing for you to say.
I'm kidding.
That is a terrible thing
I would
to
never
say.
actually say that,
Molly,
to my loving wife.
seriously.
Yeah, that's
It's terrible.
I know.
Sorry, Paige.
I'm despicable.
That's what you have to look forward to, Molly, when you find that special someone. Yeah, that kind of attitude. No, there's a lot of good men out there.
That are better
Conrad
than me.
I do like baseball, though, and I enjoy the postseason.
Yeah.
Just maybe not on my honeymoon.
No. Okay, that's fair.
Fair enough.
Find a guy that can change a tire.
She also didn't like me bumming a cigarette off a 65-year-old woman at the hot tub, but...
Did you?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, well, yeah, okay, so this is
Please,
kind of a...
please tell me it was 100.
So this is kind of a funny story.
Was it a long one or was it?
No, it was like, I think it was like a Marlboro Light or something, but
Or a Virginia Slim.
Yeah, it was not a Virginia Slim. But no, we went out and did this excursion with a huge group. There were like 12 of us from from the resort, and we all went out on this like the tour of St. Lucia and the island together. And so we were all hanging out. You know, they're getting us hammered the whole time, right? They're bringing you drinks from, you know, whatever their homemade specialty drinks there in St. Lucia. So we get back to the resort, and you know, this woman goes, "Hey, I got a pack of cigarettes out there," and then we're all like, I don't smoke cigarettes, but I'm on vacation.
I do today.
I was like, I don't smoke cigarettes, but yeah, I mean, I'm, you know, a little tipsy and we're here on vacation. And so I was hanging out at the hot tub with this 65-year-old woman, very nice woman, very lovely woman, who was just handing out cigarettes to people. And then Paige comes over, she's like, I've been looking for you for an hour.
What are you doing?
It's like, I'm just hanging out with our new friends here.
So not only that, Paige learns on the honeymoon that you're going to be miserable to be around when the Yankees get swept, and you're a closet smoker.
There we go.
Yeah, so that was a fun time.
Happy honeymoon.
Text line
we had a
is
great
open.
time, believe it or not. She says she had a good time.
I appreciate you for telling those kind of stories. 205-834-9450. This one rolling in, and it says 2009 Florida Gators, 13-1 record with no national championships.
That was one of my favorite Florida seasons. That was a big moment. And if you were wondering, I don't know if I'm supposed to reveal this or not. It may not still be there. But the first time I got to go inside of the actual Alabama football facility, they had a large blown-up picture, not kidding you, in the wall, hanging on the wall of Tim Tebow crying after the 2009 SEC championship.
No, I think you can say that because I've heard that from somebody else.
Yeah, I was like, this is the place. This is the right place. This is nice.
Tim texts in, most frustrating season for him as a fan, 2010 Alabama football should have been better than 2009. The comeback.
Yep, the comeback.
Steven Garcia.
South Carolina, yep. That was a little bit of a rocky one.
That was a really good team. You got to ask Greg McElroy what happened more.
Greg, why weren't you better? Why didn't
Just
you do
ask him
more?
every day.
Why didn't you do more, Greg?
This one rolling in from Montgomery. Appreciate our listeners there. And the most frustrating thing about the Braves is Snicker refusing to bunt the runners over. Well, they've tried a couple of times. They actually attempted, at least they do it in the regular season now. Whereas we would get to the postseason, and then a guy who's never attempted a bunt attempts a bunt, and he looks like a guy that's never played baseball.
Do have a little good news for you. Austin Riley just hits a solo shot. Now 7-3 Braves there in the bottom of the
Old
fifth.
Mississippi Blue Eyes. I'm back.
You're so back. The Braves are back.
So back. All right, we'll keep you updated what's going on there at Truist. A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on. We do have Molly marinades. That is something we save. And that is, speaking of gems, that is a gem. That's something we look forward to. Molly, are you ready for Molly marinades?
I'm so excited.
No pressure.
A lot more texts that we'll get to as well in the next hour. Some other fun stuff to come along. Thanks for joining us every single day, but especially here on this Thursday. Three-man front, Jocks 94.5, JocksFM.com, the Jocks 94.5 app, and those of you watching on Jocks TV on YouTube, hello. Back with more. 1 o'clock, 3-man front here on Josh 94.5. Landrum, Conrad, and Molly. Molly! We do have Molly Marinates coming up. 7-3 Braves leading. Bottom of the 5th inning. Runners on first and third with 2 outs. And big old Nick Allen, all 5'3" of him. They're at the plate. And, Nick, great job. 7-3 as they head to the top of the 6th inning there. Mandu in downtown Homewood, that is a place that always deliver. They always connect. Mandu is electrical muscle stimulation fitness. You're going to go into Mandu. Your first visit's free, but it's all been FDA approved. They put you in a suit, hook you up to a machine, sends electric pulses to various parts of your body, and just in time for summer. Men, ladies, you're looking to fine-tune some parts of your body. You're going to be wearing less clothes. You want to get swimsuit ready. You can do that, whether it's your glutes, whether it's you want to spot your calves. You can do that. Shoulders, chest, arms, or just overall, if you want endurance. Maybe you're training for something. Just overall feel better. If you haven't been in a gym in a long time, no problem. There are different levels. You can go from the beginner level all the way to, hey, let's really ramp it up. They can do that because of the technology. It's a 15-minute workout. That's right, 15 minutes. 15 minutes because of the deep tissue interaction you're going to get. It's equivalent to 6 hours in a gym. You can't beat that. You're going to get results. I promise you that. First visit free. They'll put you through the workout. Mandu in downtown Homewood, MANDUU.com. Tell Paul and the gang that Landrum from 3-Man Front sent you.
A little bit of news coming out in the college football world here worth passing along. So this came out a little bit earlier this afternoon. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has signed into effect HB 126, which will now allow colleges in the state of Texas to directly pay athletes in line with the House versus NCAA settlement. It also opens the door for high school athletes over the age of 17 to sign NIL deals. So now if you are a coveted college football recruit or any college athletics recruit in the state of Texas, you could be getting an NIL deal cut while you are, depending on how the age works out, if you're 17 and junior in high school, you could be making NIL as a junior in high school now. So a big step there for Texas as we wait on Alabama.
Is this similar to a state like Louisiana where that would all supersede anything that the NCAA would try to come in and do enforcement-wise? Because if it is, the understanding is that some of these conferences, namely the SEC and others, asking that these schools kind of forfeit that. And if you're going to be a part of this conference and you're going to have to agree to be under a certain governing body. Now, the problem with that is if the Big 12 doesn't do it, then there would be obviously an advantage there. I'm sure that there are different ways around it, but interesting that you're getting that now from the state of Texas. How many other states are going to follow suit while this House settlement is still kind of in limbo?
Yeah, and I think you bring up a great point, though, with what we heard from the SEC of, hey, you're going to have to sign these contracts and you're going to have to abide by our rules, our legislation here in the conference. And if you don't want to sign it, then we will see you later. And so, yeah, certainly for Texas, kind of going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. But, yeah, if you're Texas Tech right now, even like the UTSAs of the world, schools like that, this certainly going to give you an advantage, at least for the short term.
5 questions from Molly. Conrad and I will try to answer. This is Molly Marinates.
Molly Marinates. And as always, Molly Marinates is brought to you by Courtesy GMC in Trustful. Go check them out at courtesybirmingham.com. Question 1. So obviously today we've talked a lot about, your most frustrating season that you've experienced in your respective fan base. So it got me thinking, is there a certain fandom out there or a certain team, any sport, any league that you think actually has it the worst of anybody?
Ooh. The Bills would be in that conversation.
I was thinking the Bills and the Browns.
Bills would be in conversation. I think Falcons fans.
Yep.
You're going to be there. Would have said that about the Saints, but at least you got one.
Mm-hmm.
Conrad, you would be better. Is there an NBA franchise?
See, that's what I'm thinking. And I guess in the more modern era, obviously right now, maybe a Charlotte Hornets fan.
I was thinking the Hornets.
Or, back in the day, the Pelicans. That would be a rough one.
Would the city of Cleveland, would that Cleveland Browns, yes.
See, I almost just feel like they don't even count because we just assume that it. If you're a Cleveland sports fan, probably just kind of sucks. Honestly, not trying to be ugly.
And a lot of my really close friends from college are from the Minneapolis area, and they always talk about how in their lifetime, they've seen some success, but no championships really for any of their sport. I mean, I guess the Lynx, but not the Big Four.
Yeah, and I think this is where it kind of goes to the conversation we were having earlier about the toughest seasons that you've had to go through is. What do you quantify as worse, right? Do you look at it somebody like the Falcons and the situations they've been in, or do you look at, or the Browns, right? The Browns are a really, really bad franchise, but you kind of expect that from them. But with the Bills, you've been really, really good. You just haven't been able to win the Super Bowl. And so is it worse to go to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row and lose every time? Or is it worse to, be a cellar dweller in your division for a decade?
Right. I think the Bills is a solid answer.
I think Bills would be... Bills would be a really good one. For Major League Baseball, where would you...
Padres
where
would be
you
one.
think? Padres? Mariners would be up there for me.
Mariners. Rays, you've gotten close.
Yeah. They don't have any fans. Sorry.
Very true.
That was rude.
Vikings?
Yeah, we were just talking about,
Minnesota,
Vikings would be a good one. I think Bills would. I think that's the
pretty solid answer. Yeah.
Yeah, because you go back, 30 years to what happened in the 90s, but even now, right? It feels like for the last 5 years, Molly, we've been talking. Oh, this is the year the Bills are going to get there.
Finally, this is the year.
It just doesn't happen.
No. All right, next question.
Brewers would be another one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Well, next question. In the 2024 college football season, the following teams finished last in their respective conferences. This is Power 4. So you had Mississippi State finishing last in the SEC,
okay.
Purdue in the Big 10, Oklahoma State in the Big 12, and Florida State in the ACC. So flash forward 1 year from now, which of these 4 fan bases do you think... I know we were just talking about the most miserable fan bases, but who do you think will have the most 180 type of flip? Now, I'm not saying go off and win their conference...
Right.
But which fan base do you think will be slightly happier by this time next year?
Oh, well, naturally, I would think Florida State because it was such a drastic fall off.
Because it was so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go from, you're thinking of the college football playoff. Let's not revisit all that, but the injury and all of that. Winning a conference championship. Oklahoma State, hard to believe that Gundy doesn't get that thing turned around.
See, that's kind of where I was going with that.
Because they've been pretty steady Eddie, with the exception of last year, and maybe there was another one-off year. But that was a team that generally you could bank on winning at least 8 games.
I was about to say, in the last 20 years, they had only not won 7 or more games one time, and it was last year.
It was last year, yeah.
Because, they were 3-9 last year. There's no way they're that bad again.
No. I would say, though...
But are you going to be happy as an Oklahoma State fan at 6-6?
Right.
Right.
That was why I asked the question. Because
this is a tough question. That's why it's a good question, Molly.
Thank you.
Mississippi State, it's just
don't.
Nature of the beast.
See,
the conference that you're in, too tough.
I wouldn't say Mississippi State or Purdue.
No,
it's between
Purdue's going to be
Oklahoma
better
State
though.
and FSU.
Odom will win some games there.
I think they'll be better.
They were really bad.
But they're
last
really
year.
bad.
They were
really bad.
Oh man, golly.
I'm looking at Florida State's schedule and outside. Okay, Florida's gonna be tough. Clemson's gonna be tough. Alabama's tough. Miami's tough.
What other games are you thinking?
You should be able to beat Virginia. You should be able. Pitt's better. You should be able to beat Pitt though. Stanford, Wake, NC State.
Yeah, but those are the games that Florida State. I'm going to Oklahoma State.
I like it.
Yeah,
Yeehaw!
I think I'm going to go Oklahoma. I think I'm going to go Oklahoma State too. And part of it, even if Oklahoma State, like I just said, if they go 6-6, are they happy? Probably not. But I feel like for Florida State fans to go from the high of being undefeated to then what happened last year, you kind of are expecting yourself to be right back in the playoff conversation potentially. And I don't see that. So yeah, I'll go Oklahoma State as well.
How did Arkansas not beat them last year?
That is a great.
I totally forgot about that.
Great question. Well, because when you're watching the game, you're going, okay,
we watched that.
That was rough.
Yeah.
I was with Voice of Blaze, David Crane, and my wife. We were in Monroe, Louisiana, and we went to like a Buffalo Wild Wings, and we watched that game. And at the end of the game, how did you lose that game?
Oh, well, yeah, and you give them the benefit of the doubt at the time of, okay, well, at least Oklahoma State's good. Like, you should have won, but you lost to a good team, right? No, you lost to a really, really bad team.
Yeah.
That way.
All right, next question.
Molly, you're off to a great start.
Thank you. So more on... it's funny because I have a whole list of questions written down for the next 2 days, but some of these I've pretty much come up within the last couple of hours just because of the conversation that we've been having. And this is one of those. So I know we've been talking about most frustrating seasons all day that we've had as fans. And one thing that we have also talked about in the past in this show is your most unforgettable sports moment, or, the best event that you've covered. Like for me, that would be the Rickwood games last year, the College World Series. So I want to know, is there a certain game or play or event that you've been to in person that you would consider your worst experience?
Worst?
Yes, as a fan.
Oh man, I thought it was
like
going to be
in person.
I can tell you. We went up, covered the first Final Four 2019 in Minneapolis.
Okay.
Me and a gentleman who was here at the time. And being from the state of Alabama, watching Auburn play Virginia in that semifinal game, the way it all unfolded, watching elated Auburn students going crazy, thinking the game was over. Then watching three foul shots from Kyle Guy, and that was going to be money. He knocks them all down. But then having to go get post-game audio from the Auburn locker room.
Oh, brutal.
That's something on our side typically we're not doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But being in that locker room and watching these kids bawling, crying, and having to ask the tough questions, and just, I don't care if it was Auburn or anybody, just to witness that and the heartbreak.
Yeah, you almost feel bad that you have to do your job.
Right? Yeah. That was terrible. I don't wish that on anybody.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. It was funny because when you were reading the question, Molly, I'd gotten an answer prepared because I thought you were going to ask, what's like your favorite moment or your favorite season? And I was like, I get to talk about something good. So now I have to talk about something bad. I don't think it's any surprise, and maybe it's still the recency bias of it, but the trip I took to Norman, Oklahoma.
I knew you were going to say that.
That's the worst football game I've ever attended in person from just a that is probably the most frustrating football game. I don't know, maybe USF a couple years ago. But just from a frustration standpoint of putting in all of the work, and it was a great trip. I got to spend time with my stepdad and my stepbrother that I don't get to see a whole lot, and everything, all of that part of it was great. And then to go and watch just crap for 3 hours, and it was cold. And knowing the next day, we're gonna have to, you got a 10-hour drive all the way back, and you're just gonna be brooding over the loss.
I'm not trying to rub it in.
That was bad.
At what point during that game are you sitting there going, this isn't going to happen? They are going to, because as a fan, you're thinking, all right, there's going to be that turning point.
Yeah.
When are we going to see that spark? When's that comeback? When did it dawn on you that there is no way in where?
Probably the second interception after halftime, because it was, all right, we came back from halftime, you turned the ball over. All right, but we're getting the ball back, and you still, at that point, if you go down and score a touchdown, it's a ball game, right? Like, you're not concerned about it. But once you threw that second interception right out of halftime, you kind of knew that it was all over. But I will say, then you had the Ryan Williams play, where when that happens, you're going, okay, well, if that's the kind of stuff that's happening, because that's one of those plays where incredible catch, but that's like it
flips the game.
Yeah, and if you make that play, like maybe this is kind of a destiny thing that Alabama's going to come back, but then when they overturn it or whatever, that bogus, one of the worst calls I've ever seen in my life, but they overturned that touchdown. That's when you really knew, okay, there's no wind left in these sails.
See, for me, it would honestly be the entire 2021 Nebraska football season. But if I were to pick...
Which one-score game was it that was the most frustrating?
Literally every single one of them, Conrad.
Was that the Georgia Southern?
No, that was my senior year.
Okay.
But see, I was thinking the entire 2021 season, which was also my most frustrating season, but that would also be up there because... the Georgia Southern game, it was a walk-off field goal pretty much.
Yeah.
And I will never forget kind of walking back through the football facilities to get back to our locker room, because we were kind of on one end and you had to literally walk through all the media, the football team, everything to get there. And even after all the losses that I experienced as a student, I have never seen the facility so quiet. And just kind of, everybody was just looking, like, we knew it was going to happen. And sure enough, 12 hours later, they had, we had fired Scott Frost. And it was kind of, no one was saying it, but everyone knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Like, it was dead silent. And it was just kind of like.
Yeah, everyone's like walking on eggshells.
It was just, even the media members were like, oh, man, this is not going to
I've
end
had a
well.
sports year like that where the team that I work for is my job. It's a dreadful season, and then the Braves have a terrible season, and then this team has a terrible season, and then my fantasy team has one of those just calendar year,
effect,
everything just
Do I have time for one more?
That's why we love sports.
Oh, you got plenty of time.
Oh, perfect. Okay. I want to preface this by saying I wrote this question down last night, but I did hear Mac and Cube kind of talking about it this morning, but I wrote this down before I heard them talking about it. But thank you. Okay. So Nintendo just released the Nintendo Switch 2. I believe it came out at midnight last night. So I want to know, growing up or even now, if you still play video games, what was your favorite video game console that you had?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Yeah, it was.
Because I have a couple.
So mine, I still go back to the original Nintendo.
Okay.
Super Mario had Duck Hunt, had the little gun that you could plug in.
Oh, yeah.
But also TNC Surf Designs. That's a Tecmo Bowl.
Okay.
Contra. Some of my favorites on that. Yep. It was that Nintendo, that original. I guess that would have been the original. Yeah, that would have been the original console, right? With the little flip up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gray on top and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mine, I'm trying to think. The first one that I ever got was a PlayStation 2. And I remember, I think it was like 2002 or 2003, because I got a PS2 and I got whatever the baseball game was at that time, that Derek Jeter on the cover, and I loved that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was mine growing up. I always played PlayStation, and I mean, still now I have a PS5, and that's what I use whenever I play stuff. So yeah, probably PS2, just from childhood days. That was my go-to.
So one of my cousins had the GameCube, and I always used to love going over to my aunt's house because we'd always play the GameCube. But for, I guess, me and my brother, it was always my Nintendo DS, which was like not the Game Boy. It was the one after the Game Boy.
Oh, back when you would like ride the bus to school and
yes,
things like
and
that?
I would bring my
Those were
DS
the
with
best.
me.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Or, because I never had like a PlayStation or an Xbox, but I had the Wii growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I think it was like Christmas 2008. We got the Wii for Christmas, my brother and I, and we would stay up until all hours of the morning and playing Mario Kart, Super Smash,
Isn't that where
Rock
you suffered the injury?
Yes, we were like, it was Wii Sports, and it was the fighting, and you had the nunchuck, and my brother like just whacks over and hits me in the nose.
I
was like 9.
I brought down a ceiling fan. It was a low ceiling in one of the little side off rooms in my old house, and I was doing the Wii bowling, and I followed through too much. Yep.
Yeah, we broke a TV in college because one of my friends, he had the Wii that he brought down to Tuscaloosa with him. We would play golf.
Wii golf is fun.
Yeah, it was awesome because,
Yeah.
I mean, you were like actually swinging the golf club and it was really fun. And yeah, we had
Somebody got hammered and got too close.
Yeah, well, yeah, went through TV and
that's what happened.
Whatever.
My brother and I would play Wii baseball all the time too.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
I had backyard baseball on the DS as well, and I used to love that game too. So.
Great
yeah,
stuff,
a lot
Molly.
of good memories.
But yeah, that's Molly Marinades, and I'll have even more tomorrow.
You're really good at this.
Great
Thank you.
questions. You're better than Pat, but we won't tell him.
Oh, okay.
We continue. He's listening right now. 3-man front and Jocks 94.5. 122, three-man front. Great Molly marinades. If you missed that, you can find it there at the podcast, jocksfm.com. We appreciate Stallions head coach Skip Holtz. A great interview with Coach previewing the conference championship game coming up Sunday, 2 o'clock at Protective Stadium. And I believe I saw something, and I'm kind of speaking out of turn, but I saw something where if you buy your tickets tomorrow, they have a deal going on where they're going to waive the fees and any associated stuff that goes with it. So
Ooh, okay. Nice.
We're going to be there. We're gonna all be there, I believe.
Yep.
But me, you, your lovely wife Paige, my wife, lovely wife Dorothy. We're going to be watching that. So yeah, if you want to buy tickets, because we had several people that texted in on the text line asking, how do I buy tickets? But if you want to walk up and purchase a ticket there, that will not be a problem. Let's get as many folks as we can. And look, if it rains, I'll have a poncho.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say, rain or shine, I know we're definitely going to be out there supporting the Stallions, and you can come say, hey, you can sit in the bleachers with us, or you can go and sit with Damien and take your shirt off if that's more your style. That will not be us, though.
No, it will not be. Good news to report if you're a Braves fan. 9-3, the Braves leading as they head to the bottom of the 7th. And that makes me very, very happy. It reminds me of this quote, and this is kind of how I'm feeling, for the great 1989 movie, Major League.
Well, then I guess there's only one thing left to do. What's that? Win the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah!
Yeah. Hey.
I love that movie.
Yeah. You might as well. Hey, I was gassing up the Rockies yesterday saying they might go and win 112 games now with this hot streak they're on. Why can't the Braves do that? Might as well. Doesn't hurt. Win them all.
Keller, I'm ready for the bet. I am ready for the bet. Keller, big Rockies fan.
What would you feel comfortable betting on that?
I don't know. You guys throw out some suggestions that don't involve permanent ink. That'd be great. Or one of those whatever's in your ear.
Whatever. What?
I said it. I asked Dorothy the other day.
Yeah,
the gauges.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good question. What could y'all bet on? Something that, you need to be putting your dignity on the line a little bit here.
I was not thinking that way.
We'll have to think about it.
I was just thinking if you had to wear a Rocky shirt or something, or he would have to wear a Brave shirt.
Wear a Rockies hat.
Yeah.
Every day for a week.
Yeah.
I got a Rockies hat. Well, I've got the collection. My dad used to travel, and he'd bring me the Major League Baseball hats.
You know what's funny? I actually have a Rockies hat, too.
Do you?
From when I went for Husker Days.
Will you wear yours as well?
Sure. I'll bring it.
Support?
Yeah. I'll help you out.
Okay.
You can borrow mine if you want.
Yeah, there you go. You can wear Molly's Rockies hat for a week.
Is it a cute one?
Well,
or is it the fitted one?
If I remember. No, it's like a cute one.
That might be a good bet.
That actually might work.
Actually, I have two. Because I went to 2 Husker Day at the Rockies. I have a purple one, and then I have a red and gray one.
Oh, that's right. You went and you were in the inflatable outfit.
That's right.
I forgot about that.
Mascot.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Molly the mascot.
I was on Coors Field.
By the way, there's your nickname, Molly Mascot.
Okay.
You like that?
Yeah, that's cute.
That's cute.
What if you make the bet whoever loses has to do the 1-chip challenge with me?
I'm not doing that again.
Well, you just take all the fun out.
I saw what you did. No, I did that. I've done that.
Yeah, see, exactly. You did it once.
No, I don't think that's enough in one lifetime for that particular part of my body.
Yeah, you got scared when I told you some kid died doing it.
That is very sad, though.
It is very sad.
That is very sad. Why'd you bring that up? Having a good Thursday.
Because y'all are trying to get me to do something that has killed people before.
Most frustrating season you've endured as a fan. Text coming in. Your buddy Jerry, our buddy Jerry from Hayden, says last season was tough. The combination of the bonehead and NIL row. Enough said. I swear, I think that you are Jerry from Hayden. Kind of like Molly in the conspiracy theory that she's Deborah.
We haven't heard from Deborah in a while.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, I hope Deborah's okay.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Maybe football season.
And she does travel a lot,
She
luxuriate around a lot of pools.
Maybe we talk to Deborah every day and it's just somebody else and they just change their name to mix it up every now and then.
Maybe.
What if we found out that Don was Deborah?
That would be awesome.
Nah.
It's actually Kaylee's account.
Oh.
Love you, Don. Mercedes says, my teams are the Vols, Cubs, Lakers, and Steelers, so I can't even pick one horrible year. I can name my nightmare years from each team, LOL. Thank you very much, Mercedes.
I mean, that's pretty good, though. I know the Cubs, you had your very, very long drought there, but Lakers fan got some success there. You say he was what football fan was he? I feel like he had some good. Steelers. Yeah, you got some good teams.
Steelers.
Yeah.
Brian says the end of the Malzahn era was what put us so far down. WDE. Thank you, Brian. JJ says, I got a good one. I was only there 8th grade the year after the Broncos got pounded by the 49ers in the Super Bowl, and they went on to have one of the worst seasons under Elway at 5-11. Yep.
It's a good one.
Tripp says, wow, you guys don't give Miami Hurricanes credit. 10-2 and number 1 draft pick last year. Why did Miami not get in the playoffs?
Because they played a weak schedule.
And they lost to the wrong teams.
Correct.
When it mattered the most.
I feel like we're getting more people that are, bringing that up now than during the season. Like, I thought at the end of the season, we all just kind of accepted it was what it was, right? You were Miami, you had a great offense and a great quarterback, but you played a bad schedule.
I think this particular listener
is
doing that for the benefit of Bama Hater.
Why would you do that?
Right? One of the most disappointing seasons for me was watching my Rockies get to the World Series only to be swept by the Red Sox. Too much time between the NL Championship and the World Series where all the momentum was lost for us.
Yep, 2007.
98 Braves. I wasn't born, though, says one of our listeners. 98 was tough.
It's a good song about it.
Yeah, the Yankees. Well, that was the Yankees. 96, 98. That was a great Yankees team.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
Jim Cott said at least the best, in his opinion, in the last 30 years.
Yep. Great team.
Interesting. Sharif Cooper's season when he was suspended for quarter for absolutely no reason was frustrating. Oh, yeah, Sharif Cooper and that was cleared by the NCAA. Was it not? Or
I'm trying to remember what his situation was. That was what, like 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah. Jason says, Alabama, Nick Saban's first year, we lost to everything that had feathers. Very true.
Yeah, Louisiana Monroe that year was not good.
Scott says, every Cubs season since 1974 except for 2016.
I was about to say with one exception, yeah. Having a good year this year, though.
Yep. And Jody says 2001 Oklahoma football had to beat a 3-win Okie State team at home in the last game of the season to go to the Rose Bowl, play for the national title, but Les Miles led the Cowboys to the upset, and Miami killed Nebraska for the national title. Drake says 2009 SEC championship game when Tebow cried.
It was a great game, Drake. I don't know what you're talking about.
He provided signage for the Alabama football facility.
That's right.
Jamie said, I got really PO'd when Dansby left. Well, the Cubs offered him a lot of money.
How is he doing? I'm trying to.
He's okay.
I was about to say, I
feel
feel
like
like
his cute wife. That's a cute couple.
They are. Okay. He's hitting 240, 11 home runs, 34 RBIs.
Yeah, he got a $200-something million contract.
See, exactly. That's my thing with
Let's
Dansby.
weigh it out.
He was always a good player, but he wasn't an elite
I think he'll be a dad this year, too.
He's going to be a dad?
Yeah, I think him and Mallory are
They're going to have
expecting.
cute kids.
They will, yeah.
All right, we'll continue. Also, the worst thing I've seen, we got that on the way. Plenty more to go. Thanks for being with us. 3-Man Front on Thursday and Jocks 94.5. Well played, Molly. Molly doing choreography. Molly singing in the microphone so our folks watching on Jocks TV on YouTube can watch you.
If we were a team and love was a game, we'd have been the 98 Braves.
There it is.
Beautiful.
Braves leading 9-3. 9-4. And just like that, the Diamondbacks have scratched. But they're in the top of the 8th inning, 1 out, and the Braves trying to win for the first time in this series and for the second time in the last 2 series. And if we go any further back, then I might throw up. Most frustrating season you've had to endure as a fan. We continue with those texts. Tommy is in Trustful. Cincinnati Bengals pick 1. Okay. He said, grew up in Cincinnati, lifelong Bengal fan. I don't want to hear anybody else's sob stories.
Yeah, the Marvin Lewis years especially, or at least those are the ones I remember from being younger, were brutal because you had some good teams that just never could win anything in the postseason. Had a lot of good players.
Sam says Bama 2010. We've gotten a lot of those today.
Which one?
Alabama 2010. Cam back. Garcia. You had Julio Jones. That roster was just insane.
Yep.
Logan says last 2 seasons as a UAB football fan and 2013 with Garrick McGee. Thank you, Logan. We appreciate you chiming in and listening. And Gavin says if we were going off of seasons, I'd say either all Georgia 2007, 2012, and then 2017. 2012, that was the Aaron Murray SEC championship, right?
Yep, where they came up about, 7 yards short, something like that, of beating Alabama. And then 2017 was my favorite year of Alabama football for a different reason, but that was the Tua, 2nd and 26 year.
FSU Dave says, take your pick of any of the 3 wide rights, or just to mix it up, a wide left against Miami. Any of those kicks have been made would have all resulted in national titles. Yep.
It's a good one, Dave.
Most frustrating Alabama of the year, Prothro broke his leg, 10-0, going into play Auburn and get our hearts ripped out. And 2016 versus Clemson. Thank you, Eric.
Yep. Yep, the Prothro one, that was tough.
That was tough.
That was tough.
That was awful. Should he have been in the game? Okay. All right. Saying.
You could say the same thing about, should Tua have been in that game against Mississippi State in 2019? Probably not, but he was, and he got hurt too.
CJ in Trustful says the New York Jets. As far as just one of those, I think that went back
just
to
general fandom since,
yeah,
after the first decade of the NFL's existence. Yeah.
Josh in Huntsville, the one ring Arizona has was 2001 when the New York was destined to win.
Luis
But
Gonzalez.
He goes on to say the city of Phoenix has suffered. All 3 teams had a championship appearance for 1 year, and outside of that, Phoenix teams have been irrelevant. And don't forget the Coyotes, too.
That's a really good point because, I forget about, the Cardinals lost to the Steelers. You had the Suns in the NBA Finals a couple of years ago. And, the Diamondbacks in 2001, unfortunately.
This one reads worst, but also best is looking back. It's laughable sports moment. The 80s Braves at Fulton County Stadium, Dale Murphy, Rafael Ramirez, Chris Chambliss days, $4 general admission tickets. Nobody in the stadium, like bad Cleveland Indians in the movie Major League Bat. Yeah, I was there. Got really good seats. Sit anywhere you want.
See, that's the best part.
You knew all the ushers by name.
Well, I was about to say, you probably kind of get a
hey, Robert's family.
Yeah, you have a friend group there because you're the only people that.
Did you guys do Six Flags again this year? Yeah, we did. What about Whitewater? Yeah. Stone Mountain if there's time.
Man, I want to go to Six Flags. That sounds fun. I haven't been on a roller coaster in so long.
It's been a while for me, and I thought about doing Six Flags, but we're going to Orlando, and we're going to do the whole Universal thing.
Oh, okay.
So I don't want to spoil the the new of actually getting on a thrill ride for the first time. I think the last time I was on a roller coaster, and that was the first time in forever, was there in Foley at OWA.
Oh, yeah.
Which is not a bad coaster.
No.
It's quick. It's to the point.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I don't want to ruin it. And before that would have been the Mall of America, 2019, the Final Four.
The Final Four, yeah.
And that's a quick to the point, but a good roller coaster.
And it's in a mall.
It's in a mall.
So that's pretty cool.
Which is really cool. Don says, wow, Landrum, now I am Deborah. Come on, man. I hope you're not, because that's really disturbing. I didn't throw out the Kaylee thing. That was Conrad.
Yeah, that was me.
My most disappointing was the last season of Game of Thrones. Kevin.
There's some good episodes in there. Just the not the very end of it.
Oh, gosh. Dr. Mel chiming in. Name of the program needs to be 3-Man Front and Molly. We will work on that. A lot of branding. We already have a lot of clothing that has it on there. What if we just added like in masking tape and Molly?
Well, I guess
She's
people.
part of 3-Man Front. It's a state of mind, Dr. Mel.
I was about to say people forget about our introductory video when Molly
just means 4.
Came here. It says 3-Man
just
Front.
means 4.
Just means 4.
Bobby says 2023 LSU defense. Offense was great to watch, but the defense made me want to slam my head through a wall. Cost us a chance at a natty. Yep.
Fair. Very fair.
That was a unbelievably good offense to waste on a season that went 10-3.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry from Hayden says, I could change a tire when I was 8. He is not me.
Thank you, Jerry.
There's a... Fat Joe says, is Landrum being so nice to Molly Mascot because he made her cry yesterday? Did I make you cry?
Oh, yeah, you were being kind of nasty
That is
during
kinda funny,
the
though.
Price is Right.
Price is Right. That's all.
That's all fun and games.
That's like brother, sister.
Yeah.
You know, I would never hit you with nunchucks.
Well,
That's
I would hope not.
interesting route to take there. Yeah.
Well, she was talking about her brother, and I was,
oh,
come on, Conrad, keep up. Do you listen?
Has someone hit you with nunchucks before? Is that like a thing?
No.
Oh, okay.
But her brother accidentally hit her with the nunchucks playing the Wii.
Oh, you're
Yes.
talking. I thought we were talking about like the actual martial arts
Oh, no.
nunchucks. I was very confused. It was
No.
like, why is that?
It was during Wii boxing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, man, did I miss this story about nunchucks?
Yeah. Thanks, Sam.
Oh, gosh. This one coming from Tennessee. My senior year of high school, we gave up like 32 points all year, but lost in the second round of the playoffs 48-0.
Oh, yeah. That's bad.
That's not easing in. That's just, woo.
That's bad. I think I told the story of my high school basketball team that made the playoffs for the first time in years and then lost by 99 points in the first round. So that's a frustrating way to end a season.
This one rolling in from Montgomery. I'm not going to read it, but thank you very much. We appreciate the compliment, and thanks for listening. Cody says, as a Cowboys fan, every season for the past 25 years.
Yeah, see, that checks out. But see, that's the same thing as like me being a Yankees fan. You are never going to get sympathy for anybody for being a Cowboys fan, a Yankees fan, Alabama football, Lakers, Celtics.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be rough.
Alan says, not a UNC fan, but 2023 being preseason number 1 and didn't make the NIT.
That's a good one.
Shout out to you, Texas A&M baseball.
That's a good. Was it the year before that when they were like the 10 seed and made it to the championship?
Yeah.
'Cause it was right around then, and then
I
think it was the year
It
before.
was them in Kansas.
That was his first year, right?
Hubert Davis, yeah.
Yeah.
Made that run.
Mm-hmm.
Howie from Birmingham says, Atlanta beating my Indians in the World Series. See, that's one of the highlights of my sports fandom. But for Howie, that was a really good Indians team too.
Yeah, and I mean, I imagine, for Indians fans too, you go back to the year the Cubs won, and then that Game 7 where you hit the home run and you feel like, man, they're actually going to do it, because that was that not the same year that the Cavs won the NBA Finals? And it was like, this is Cleveland's year. Like, they're actually going to, bring a couple championships home, and then
that happened. They got Cleveland.
Yeah, they got Cleveland by the Cubs. Yeah.
Nate, our buddy who is a physical therapist, a home health physical therapist, and he said, I taught Prothro how to use crutches the next day. He wrote me a page-long thank you letter. Great guy. Terrible injury and infection.
That's a really cool story. Yeah, I wonder if he's still, I know for a while he worked at a bank there in Tuscaloosa. I don't know if he's still there or not. But Prothro, really nice guy. I met him before.
Trip for remembering the Bob Horner for Homer's game. That was awesome. I remember where I was. I was at my uncle's. I was young, but that's one of the first Braves broadcasts I could remember. And Horner hits 4 home runs.
That's one of those things too that I guess in my life, it happens very rarely where someone hits 4 home runs and it's like, man, we're never going to get to the 5 home run game, are we? That might be a record that just doesn't happen.
Another name recommendation. Didn't know we were soliciting these, but glad we got it started. How about 3 Men and a Babe? Oh, instead of 3 Men and a Baby. Have you ever seen 3 Men and a Baby?
No.
Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time.
I've seen the movie Babe with the pig.
Okay.
But no, I've not seen 3 Men and a Baby. Do you like that one, Molly?
Yeah, I've seen Babe.
Yeah, I was about to say I've seen that one.
I forgot about that movie.
I don't think I've
loved
ever
it as
seen
a
Babe.
kid. I loved that one as a kid.
Yeah.
It's a very nice tale about a pig.
Yeah, it's cute.
It's a kid.
It's been a very long time since I've seen it, though.
Yeah.
Is the pig as annoying as Maxwell in the Geico commercial?
No, that is the fact that they brought that commercial back after all these years is despicable.
Apparently, Prothro is a coach at Jasper High School now.
Okay, very cool.
I don't know that. I just read the text. So
I'll
if
take
he's
their word
moved
for
on,
it.
or if he's not doing that, don't blame me. Blame anonymous listener. Actually, 2 anonymous listeners.
Yeah, I was about to say a couple people, or 3 people sending that in now. Okay. Yeah,
Hey,
well, I'm going to
go Vikings. Shout out.
Take their word for it then. Go Jasper.
Have you seen something bad?
I've seen something bad.
All right. Conrad, the worst thing I've seen. First thing Conrad has seen. We learn what it is next. $149. JJ says, I was going to say 3 men and a lady. Stop it. Stop it, JJ.
Lady?
Oh, JJ. I was just impersonating Molly. For those of you not watching Jocks TV on YouTube, we invite you to do that. There's different aspects of the show that you miss. And we appreciate everyone listening, but You get to see Conrad, what he's wearing that particular day. A lot of times we're unfairly criticizing him. And you can see, as you're watching, he doesn't. There's no way. Conrad, he looks like he bathes.
Socks.
Wearing socks today.
Not very flexible,
Did
but
you do
socks.
Did you do that for me? Huh?
Stop flattering yourself.
No,
Andrew.
you did that for me.
I did. We're sharing a room. I don't want you to have to smell my feet.
Molly.
That's very nice of you, Conrad.
Thank you.
This is big. This is really big.
Huge.
I'll try.
Top of the ninth, the Diamondbacks inching back closer. Braves still leading 10-5. So that's actually the best thing that I've seen. Conrad sees bad things all the time, and he relays them to us. This is the worst thing that Conrad has seen. Real quick, how many Jell-O shots could Texas Beach Girl consume?
Oh, dozens.
She probably doesn't have a worse sports moment. She doesn't remember anything.
I was about to say, she doesn't remember. They're all great for her.
No. She just gets blackout drunk everywhere she goes.
I was about to say, she thinks she wins every game because she celebrates like she does, or her team does,
She
probably.
needs to find Jesus. All right.
Well, for the worst thing that I've seen, you know what they say, Red Bull gives you wings, but unfortunately, I don't think this woman's going to be flying anywhere. We're going over,
Wow, what an intro.
Yeah, what an intro, right? So I was just trying to come up
Hey,
with
real quick though.
Clever headline.
I do want to use it because I took the time to write it down. 1909 on this date, Indy Motor Speedway has our first competition.
Huh.
Do you know what it was?
What?
Molly?
No, I don't know.
It was not a wiener race. It was a hot air balloon race.
Ooh.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
That's all I got.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for that.
Okay, so back to the Red Bull story. So this story is about a Swiss woman who she went on TikTok, and if you have TikTok, I'm sure you can go find this. But she posted a video that now has over 8 million views, and it is of a particular tattoo that she got. So she got a tattoo of a barcode, like you would scan something at a register. She got a tattoo of a barcode, and she said in the video that she had been thinking about getting a barcode tattoo for some time, and she finally figured out what she wanted to get. She got the Red Bull barcode tattooed on her. So now, if she goes to a grocery store, she doesn't have to scan the actual drink. She can just scan that body part, and it works. According to her, it works. So... according to the video, as I said, she had been thinking about getting a barcode tattoo for some time. She said she was initially thinking about getting a broccoli tattoo or something funny, but then she decided that she would go for Red Bull because she likes the energy drinks, and I guess she drinks them quite frequently. So you can see in the video, she has a tattoo. I'll show it to you, Landrum. Of the barcode.
Oh, wow.
It has a worm or something under it as well.
There's a worm underneath it.
It's kind of a weird tattoo.
It's almost like she had the worm and she was like, yeah, let's put this here.
That is exactly what it looks like. But yeah, it looks like it's on her arm.
Well,
I'm assuming that's an arm. But yes, so according to the woman whose last name is Dew, I'm trying to find out what her first name is.
What if she had gotten the bumper sticker or the stamp, as they like to call it, and she had to hop up on the conveyor belt every time she went?
That would be something.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Could you go back through?
Okay, so here we go. We have clarification on the worm. So she said she spent $600 on the tattoo, which features a barcode being chomped on by a worm. She added, I then added the worm, which is chomping up the barcode based on a little drawing that my sister had done. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then you can see in the video where she goes up to a gas or a grocery store, and you know how you can manually pick up the scanner for bigger items, and she scans it on her forearm, and it works. And that's how she buys her Red Bull now.
What if Red Bull changed their barcode?
Oh, I hope not for her.
Yeah, that would certainly be unfortunate. So, yeah, as you can imagine, a lot of the responses on social media
wait a minute.
are filled with concern.
What if But what if she's at a store, they've got the little thing, and she walks out the door?
That's a good question.
Does it not sound the alarm?
That's a great question.
A barcode.
Apparently, somebody on her TikTok video commented, "What are you going to do when the barcode gets changed for Red Bull?" To which she replied, "I don't care." So there you go. At least you know she's happy with it, whether it remains its functionality or is just a tattoo. I really hope she was drunk when she got that. I mean, I'm sorry.
In
that's
college, me and my roommates had a lifetime supply of Red Bull because one of my roommates worked for Red Bull.
Oh.
I had a friend that did that as well, and yeah, she would hook us up with Red Bull.
My bartending days, there are two smells, and this is associated with some of those long nights of making endless shots for college-age kids. Jaeger and Red Bull. Don't get it around me. I don't want to smell it. I don't want to see it. Don't get around me. You think Surström Gag was bad?
I love Jaeger bombs.
Oh, no thank you. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it. Big show coming up tomorrow. Always remember, God is great. Paul Feinbaum is next.